South African Endurance Series, brought to you by Mopar. We're on the grid. We've just had the national anthem, the Alfa Romeo Giulia, GTV, Quattro Valvole, and all those things. The pace car is getting ready to go. Quick walk down the grid. Pole position, awesome lap by Stewie White in the Maui Motorhomes Janetta. That's Craig Jarvis getting into the car. Nick Adcock, second position. He's going to be the hunted in the Ligier, in the Janetta. He's going to hunt him down. Tires, fuel, the balance. How does it work? Paul Hill in the Aston Martin is running in the first hour. It's part of the RGT Championship. Franco Di Maria starting in the Ligier 49. Going to be a very interesting one. The 333, they've won 2 races already, had a whole lot of problems. Fritz Kleinhans and James Forbes. I'm going to walk a little bit now. It is interesting in terms of the heat. It's coming. It really is coming. The first of the Nashes. Andrew Horn, Howard Blake. Andrew Horn in the car here. Dean Wilson, Gerald Wright. They put the plastic pig on pole in this 2-litre class over here. Then we've got the Kalex Polo 1800 GTI motor. It's turbocharged. It was surprisingly quick. They got it on pole for the 2-litre class B. The Honda.
Okay, welcome back, guys. Yeah, welcome back from my side as well. Greg Maloney, the voice of choice, up here in the main control studio. And getting ready to go now. In the background, you can see that the cars are almost good to go. We have a green flag at the back. I can see it just over my left-hand shoulder here. It's just out of sight of our cameras. And we're just waiting for the full clearance to go now for all the race action about to kick off here for the first race and round 5 of the Mopar South African Endurance Championship. Now, just also waiting for our program to be put up so that we can see what's happening out on track and see where the camera shots are. But you would have heard there from Colin that we've got the Maui Motorhomes car on pole position. Alongside him is the Aid Call 247 car. So big championship rivals side by side. Behind that is the Kalex Aston Martin, that Vantage V12. And then you've got the AMC Ligier there of Franco Di Matteo, who's actually piloting that car. But of course it belongs to Romano Satori, his good friend. Behind that you've got Point Blank Racing and Backdraft Cobra. And Fritz Kleinhans will be looking to give James Forbes probably the option to run first, and Kleinhans will take over from him a bit later. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with these 2-3-hour endurances as the cars roll off behind me. Looking for a chance now to see whether or not we've actually got out picks on track at this stage. I can't see on my screen at the moment, and I know my guys are working hard to give me that. But just looking at the cars rolling down the start-finish line here at the Phakisa Freeway. Originally a purpose-built circuit, remember, for motorcycle racing. MotoGP were here for 5 years, and definitely something that has been on the cards for a long, long time is this circuit's ability to not only run for motorbikes, but on full circuit racing on all forms of the South African championships. We've had National Championship circuit racing here. We've had the West Bank Super Series. We've had Vodacom Power Tour. We've got the current Extreme Festival that races here. We've also got the Endurance Championship that we're here with today, and many other formats of racing that have taken place here at the Phakisa Freeway. So great to see a nice field of cars out there. The battle is going to definitely be at the front end, particularly for this first one. And as I said, it'll be very interesting to see, particularly a little bit later on today. Right now, we're sitting with an ambient temperature of, what are we looking at? Just going to where we are at the moment. We're looking at 20 degrees Celsius. So it's pretty cool at the moment, but it's supposed to get up to about 34 degrees Celsius ambient temperature, which means track temperatures on this circuit are going to be close to the 60 to 65 degrees Celsius mark. So that's going to be a massive, massive factor that's going to be brought into play here today, particularly with tires and, of course, with keeping the fuel cool in between the heats, because it's always nice to put cold fuel into your car as opposed to the warm stuff. So let's see whether or not that's going to be one of the big factors here today. Interesting to see as well as we get underway now for this first heat is going to be what's going to happen in the GT class, in the saloon car class, and as I was mentioning just as we went to the break there, how things are going to change up for Class V. And Class V, of course, being fought out by a number of cars. Howard Blake and Andrew Horn, as I said, leading things out in that championship, but certainly going to be in for a bit of a run for their money with the likes of Gerald Wright and Dean Wilson. Behind that, Cara Hill and Trevor Bland make a debut here into the saloon car class, just ahead by the looks things, or actually just alongside, I should say, Marcel Angel and Jared Evans. And then behind that, of course, is the Alfa Romeo. So we've got to keep an eye on Theo Fanfuren and Keegan Ward. Nice little fight there for saloon cars. As I mentioned, if you've only just joined us now on our live stream, a big welcome to you all. But as I mentioned earlier on, Kish Patamba and Chris Budnick had a small issue on the Ferrari yesterday, and they've had to change to a slightly less powerful car, change up in a class as well. They've gone into the Mini Cooper S, and that's the John Cooper Works Mini Cooper S, an ex-production car that they are now piloting for this round. So we'll be watching it for their progress through the field, having to start right at the back of the pack. Now, I can't see if we're on program. I'm hoping my producer can tell me whether we're on or not. But all I can see is myself in the screen at this stage, and I'm waiting for the flag now as they come to the line with a rolling start. And down towards turn one they go. So that's the start of this first heat of racing. And as they head into turn one, it looks like it might be a little bit of a fight there for the lead. Yes, indeed. Heading into turn one. It is the Maui Homes car that gets through first and takes the whole shot, gets through on Nick Adcock, and then into third place, Franco de Matteo. So that's how things have started out here. Okay, so we'll try and keep as much as we can heading down there as they head, of course, down into turn 2 and 3. Turn 2 and 3 at this stage, of course, this is where a lot of race action has happened in the past. Turn 2, a very tricky corner, right-hander, slightly downhill. It's just a little bump in the road, and then they head up towards the boot section of Phakisa. That boot section of Phakisa is always a tricky little one as well. It's a hairpin right-hander, 180-degree corner that comes back on you, and then you flick it through into the left-hander past the old Coke bottle on the left-hand side. So looking forward to seeing what's going to happen now with the action out on track. Unfortunately, I don't have it on my screen just yet, but I'm going to try and bring you as much as I can see from the vantage point I'm in. Down the back straight for the first time goes the Ginetta, and opening up a big margin at this stage. Pulling away there from the 8-call car. The Ligiers there sitting in 2-3, and then it's the Calix Aston Martin in 4th place. Behind that comes James Forbes and Fritz Kleinans in the 3rd of the Ligiers. Looks like it's Andrew Horn just ahead of Cara Hill. I think that might be Trevor Bland who probably started there. Keegan Ward, then Dane Angel. Coming through there in the 350Z Nissan. Nice little start out there as well for Harry and Charles Orangis. And those two will be fighting hard to get up through the pack as quickly as possible as well. But our first lap is being completed, and across the line goes that Maui Homes G57 Ginetta, and starts things out here for the second lap of action.
Michael Jensen, early stages of the race. The strategy, you're going to try and make it on one stop. Is Nick just pacing himself at the moment?
Absolutely. It's all about the championship. Like we discussed in Cape Town in March, It's all about winning the championship. So it doesn't really matter today where we finish, as long as we finish.
All right, big welcome back here. Just a little bit of a glitch in the matrix there, but we got it all sorted out. Here we go. Across the line to complete the fourth lap, or third lap, I should say now. So looking good so far in the round 5 of the South African Endurance Championship. And you can see cars out on the circuit at this stage pushing as hard as they can. And probably going to be taking it a little bit easier than what they would usually do here in an endurance championship race. Because remember, we've got 2 3-hour endurances today. So you cannot afford, particularly if you're in the championship, to make any big mistakes here in this first heat. It's kind of like a first heat of racing, although it is considered to be round number 5 of this championship. So let's see what happens at the front end here, because it is going to be a bit of a different strategy that's required. We've already mentioned the fact that tyres are going to be important because of the heat of the day later on. The second race, of course, is going to be in almost blistering conditions. Up to about 34 degrees Celsius is what the expected temperature is here today at the Phakisa Freeway. So that's going to be something that we'll have to take into account into the day's racing. This morning shouldn't be too bad. Should be a little bit easier than what we've seen so far. But across the line, that is Paul Hill and Michael Stevens' Aston Martin. The Calyx Aston Martin there. And looking for a chance now. I think Paul Hill is actually piloting that car on his own, though, today. He did have Michael Stevens in the car with him in East London. And I'm not sure if Michael's made it back down yet, because I know that Michael is working frantically at the moment to try and ensure that he keeps all his aces up his sleeve for the 9-hour that's coming up at Kyalami on the 21st to 23rd of November. So he might not be in the car. I'll get confirmation of that as well. I only arrived here this morning, so I missed a few things yesterday in terms of qualifying. But the qualifying basically put the usual contenders at the front end, and Craig Jarvis at the front of the field at this point and getting away, and in fact starting to already come up into some of those back markers, and we're only looking at about 3 or 4 laps completed. So the cool thing about what we've seen so far, with about still 2 hours and 50 minutes to go, is everybody just sort of taking it easy. There's a couple of little dices that are happening out on track, but nothing major at this stage that is going to be anything to concern themselves about. We just heard from Michael Jensen down in pit lane there with Colin, stating that he's not looking, or neither is Nick, looking to make any wrong mistakes today, or any ones that could be seen as vital to this championship or problems for this championship, because it's not going to be a day that's you want to throw a championship away, particularly when you've worked so hard throughout the season and done all the hard work in the bigger races throughout the season. And not to say that there's nothing wrong with 2-3 hours, but a completely different format of racing that's happening here today with the South African Endurance Championship. And it's nothing that hasn't been done before, but certainly here in South Africa we haven't had 2 back-to-back 3-hour endurance races to make up one round of a big championship like this. So we'll see what happens as we get through the day. Right now we're sitting with Craig Jarvis with the lead and pushing it to about 26 seconds in those first couple of laps that he's completed over Nick Adcock. But in saying that, Jensen did confirm Adcock taking it very easy, not willing to even risk anything here in the first part, and going to be probably looking at a one-stop strategy. So about halfway through, an hour and a half, will we see the car being taken over by Michael Jensen and probably piloted to the end. Paul Hill, he's on his own, so he'll be looking to possibly do a similar type strategy, maybe do 2 small stops in pit lane. Frank and Mateo, I'm sure, will be running on a similar strategy. The Ligiers will probably all run a very similar strategy to try and do one stop without having to worry about anything going wrong. If, of course, something does go wrong, then we may have a slight different change in that strategy. Or the other thing we need to take into account is how things will change up if there is the possibility of a safety car being deployed, and that always is a big factor when it comes to endurance racing. Andrew Horn at this stage is in 6th place. He's just ahead of Cara Hill, who I think is at the wheel of that car right now. But I think I stand to be corrected. It might not be Cara who's at the wheel. It might be Trevor Bland, who started the race. Cara Hill, I think, is going to take over second, because Bland will probably try and get a little bit of airtime between himself and Trevor Frost, Theo van Vuren and Harry Arangis. According to what I've got on the timing monitor, though, it is Cara who's at the wheel, so maybe she's doing a good job. And remember, she has got some national championship experience now behind that young lady's CV, so certainly knows what to do in a polo. And a nice little Volkswagen that they have prepped for this one, so it should be a car to watch out for its first time out in endurance championship racing, and being built and, of course, worked on by her teammate and co-driver today, Trevor Bland. Jarvis at this stage pushing hard and just hanging on to what is second place, but not pushing it over the limits of the car. But back markers are now starting to become a factor as we get into this first heat of racing, and we're 12 minutes in. We're already into the first set of back markers, and Jarvis now having to make his way through even up to Harry Arangis, who's up into 10th place there in the 370Z. So that Nissan 350Z, I beg your pardon, 350Z of Harry Arangis and Charles Arangis. They're sharing that car today. He's got through easily. He's got through on Hill. He's got through on Van Vuren, on Andrew Horn as well. So we're looking at already lapping up to 6th place on track there for Craig Jarvis in the LMP2 G57 Janetta. There you can see it coming out of turn 1. Behind that, that's Cara Hill in the Calyx Polo. Theo van Vuren follows her. He's in the Alfa Romeo, and then on the Airtel comes Arangis and Andrew Horn. So that's how things have changed up there. In fact, I think it might be Scott Temple who's behind Harry Arangis there. Those Nash Sports are very similar colours, so to spot them from the distance is not an easy thing to do, but as they came past you, I think it's actually Scotty Temple who's moved up into 10th place behind Harry Arangis. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Temple is probably going to be partnered by his brother, James. I'm just going to run down my list here and see if I can pick up on their car quickly. Just seeing where they ended up. I don't have them on my list here, but I would assume that that Nash Sport is definitely piloted by James and Scott Temple, as it was in the previous round. So that's how it stands. Top 10 at this stage: Jarvis from Adcock, Paul Hill and James Forbes in 4th, and then it's the Mateo, Andrew Horn, Cara Hill, Theo van Vuren and Harry Arangis, with Scotty Temple there making up the top 10.
First pitter, it's the Frost Ligier JS49. He's just come past us into the pits. Complete surprise. The pit crew was down. Chat. You very early. What's the problem? Right. The car's cutting out. Is it electrical? Is it fuel? We don't know. Complete surprise. They're in. The engine cover comes off, and then they go into all the sensors. Unplug sensors, change sensors, put new ones in. It looks like they're going to have a look at the water as well. Another sensor on the head coming off. Ruan, I'm not sure if you can get a good look in there. We've got to be careful where Ruan goes from a comms point of view. Now they're going to open the water. I'm going to stand back because I don't like hot water as it expands. It's not water. It be oil. And into the gearbox oil?
That's engine oil.
You've got low engine oil alarm coming on?
It's only it's cutting out. It maybe can be low on oil. So we're just putting in some oils.
Right, putting in some oils into the engine because we need air, we need fuel, and we need spark to make it go bang. And we need the oil to keep it all the bits of metal apart. Otherwise, car looking kind of clean. This is our Zebra car. So when we talk about the Zebra car, we're talking about the Frost Ligier JS49. More sensors being unclipped over here. While they find the problem, not sure what it is. We did have, a little bit earlier, the guys from Jesse Huggett from the 8 Call 24 car, 24 team, went out onto the track and we measured it. It was 29 degrees centigrade. I know the official air temperature is 20, but I'll tell you what, it's got to feel like 95 down here. Thank goodness for the little breeze that's coming across, trying to keep us cool. It's hot in the pit lane. It's going to get a lot hotter. The engine cover's gone back on. Let's see if the car problem. You found the problem? You found it? Right. They don't know if they found it. They've got to bring the car out, and you're not supposed to park the car outside the pit box, but it has to be in the pit lane over here as they come. This line over here is the demarker of it. These cars have got very nice clips to get the engine cover on and keep it on. They'll just battling with some of it. If you don't get it all lined up, can be a little bit of an issue. Further along here, while they're busy sorting stuff over here, got some refueling. They're refueling the refueler. And you can see over here up to 120 liters. The rules here are that as somebody is refueling, you have to have full fire safety equipment on. So they've got their helmet, their gloves, got fire extinguisher standing by, everything is grounded, and there's all nice safety stuff. Safety is paramount. That's why ATS were kind enough to give us fire suits. So TV guy wearing a fire suit, well, it's part of the rules, part of safety, and we try to take safety quite seriously at the Mopar SA Endurance Challenge. I love the smell of fuel. Can live on it all day long. Right, the 216, our Zebra car, has got started again. I brought him out, turned the radio on. They still don't know what it is, but we'll find out now. And off he goes, motoring down our pit lane. There is a pit lane speed limit, 60 k's an hour, and some of the cars, when they come into the pits, you'll hear them pop, 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 pop on the pit lane limiter. On track, Kara Hill is in the car. We're going to try and find her dad. And he was, so you, very quickly, our camera over there.
Yes.
You unplugged a whole lot of sensors, you chucked
yeah.
some, there wasn't plain engine oil that went in there. That was like a thick stuff.
So.
All right, and has he got radio link to get back to you to tell you if the problem's solved?
No, he hasn't got.
So he'll come past the pits and say, hey, if your radio fails, if your link fails, the hand signals are all about it. I said that we were going to find Paul Hill, but we can't find Paul Hill because he's on track in his Aston Martin. Talking about track, in our Silver Starship is Greg Maloney. Greg, give us some more track action.
Well, not much has happened, Carl, since we've gone back to you. Pretty much stationary in terms of the top end of the field, other than one maneuver coming through from Scott Temple, who's got through on Theo van Vuren now for 9th and 10th place. But that's pretty much how it stays. We got a little bit of maneuvering happening from Harry Arangis as well. He's moved from 8th to 7th place and just demoted down Cara Hill that you were just talking about. So you've got Craig Jarvis leading things out now. and almost a lap ahead of everybody else at this stage. Nick Adcock in second place. He's now 6.9 seconds up the road from Paul Hill, who you'll be looking for down in pit lane and probably won't find, Cole, considering the fact that he's in that Aston Martin. And then you've got James Forbes in fourth place, who is currently about 28 seconds adrift on Paul Hill in the Aston. You can see them going through the bottom end of the circuit there. That's down past the back end of the pits. It's actually known as Geelkop Corner, that right-hander, double right-hander there. It's just to the right of the big tower that you can see. And, of course, in that pit building, you can see just on the left-hand side is usually where the Formula Vs would pit if we were here for an Extreme Festival Days racing, and sometimes even the Polo Cup and Volkswagen Challenge make their way down there too. But more importantly right now is South African Endurance Championship and the Mopar sponsored event here, round 5 of this championship. And there goes Aranjis ahead of Gerald Wright. Andrew Horn coming through there as well. Scott Temple just being passed by the Aston Martin. And Paul Hill making his way through rapidly. Just staying in touch there and not too far off the back end of that aid called Ligier. So it's good driving coming out of Paul Hill. He's on his own here today. Didn't really need the assistance because of the 3-hour formats that we've got here. 3 hours of racing you can usually do on your own. You might start to feel it in the second one if you are the only pilot in the car. So the ones that we're looking at there, of course, are Paul Hill and Trevor Frost. Those are the only 2 drivers that we've got that are sharing between, not sharing a car with anybody. We do have the Alfa Romeo with John McLaughlin, Terence Ladner, Ulisani, and Martin Buerta. They'll be sharing a car between 4 of them and maybe splitting the 2 races. I think that's probably what the strategy there is going to be, is to put two drivers into the Alfa Romeo GT for the first round, and then for the second round later on, the other 2 drivers. And then the other one is the Curie Zoo car. That is also Nash Special, and you've got Paul Sullivan, Michael Koenig, and Graham Foss all sharing that machine. So 3 drivers in that car for Class V. So that's how it stands at this stage. Not really much action happening on track at this point, although the strategies are being taken into account here in a big way. And I think there's a lot, as I said, to risk, but there's a lot of reward here. So without risk, there's no reward, and without reward, of course, you have to go with a little bit of risk. Let's see who's going to be the first team to go with that risk and see if they can maintain all 6 hours without any problems. That's probably one of the biggest factors that's going to be taken into account here as Paul Hill crosses the line and completes another lap in third place there in the Kalex Aston Martin. Heading down towards turn 2 and 3 and already down the back straight. In fact, just out of my left shoulder, I can see the Maui Holmes car of Craig Jarvis. It's a 51-second lead he's got, currently lapping in 1 minute 40s, which is way above qualifying pace from yesterday. Yesterday's pace from Stuart White in that car, 1 minute 31, the fastest lap ever around this track, in fact. And we'll wait to see when Stewie gets into that car whether they're going to try and do the unthinkable. I know that Andre de Kock sitting alongside me here and listening in for the Citizen Motoring's point of view is probably thinking himself, well, that might make quite a nice headline for Monday's back page, is Stuart White breaking every single record at every single circuit in South Africa. I don't think that's ever been done by one driver in any car or motorcycle that I'm aware of in the 22 years I've been talking about motorsports. So whether or not it was done before, I don't think, but it has to be some kind of a record, that's for sure. And particularly with the fact that the kid is only on Thursday got his official driving license. He's been driving for about 10 years now without having an official road driving license. So he's got a huge, of course, career ahead of him. And being part and parcel of the Alpha team and part and parcel of the Sauber Formula One development team, definitely a man with a big future in motorsport. So we're going to see whether or not that car does indeed go and break the lap record here. The current lap record is a 1:35.96, and that is held by a man who'll be racing tomorrow, not here, but in Thailand, on a certain number 46 Yamaha. So Valentino Rossi, of course, the current outright lap record holder here at the Phakisa Freeway. That'll also be quite a nice little story to have. I mean, what's the chances of you becoming better and faster than Rossi at any circuit around the world, unless your name is that other guy that rides number 93. I can't remember his name is. I never remember his name. Although he's in trouble after that big crash yesterday. So, as it stands, Craig Jarvis, Nick Adcock, and Paul Hill, your top three. The gap down to James Forbes is quite a significant one. It's a minute and 26, a minute and 27 to Dimateo. So they are nearly a lap down. If we take into account the pace that was done yesterday in qualifying, although they're not running qualifying pace at the moment for the top 4 cars. 5 cars are all in the 140s. 6th place, Andrew Horn is in the 52s. You've got 53s coming out of Gerald Wright. That's the championship battle for Class V, of course. And then you've got Harry Arangi, Scott Temple, and Cara Hill making up the top 10. And it is actually Cara Hill who's out on track apparently, so hats off. And let me just take back what I said earlier on. I thought it might have been Trevor Bland who would have started the race, but Cara has started the race and is doing an exceptional job to keep that new polo of theirs in 10th place and leading Class B, ahead of Dane Angel, ahead of Theo van Vuren as well in the Alpha and the Hondas in that category. So certainly a valiant effort so far from that young leader. Hopefully it'll be the same and more of the same as we get into the thick of this first 3 hour. We've completed 25 minutes of racing, and it looks like it's going to be a bit of not showing your cards. There's a lot of the waiting game being played right now. I don't think anybody wants to take any of those big risks just yet. They just want to circulate, maybe circulate at about, they're looking probably at about, I'd say about 80% of what the car's capabilities are right now. And that's on each of the cars. There's no one really pushing the cars to what they can actually do around this track at this point. So lots of action still to come, and hopefully a bit of action into the second half of this 3 hour. Because right now, it's literally a massive train that everybody's just hanging on to and trying to get to the end. The only big issue we've had so far has come out of the Strocam mining car there of Trevor Frost. And that Ligier coming in. Looks like it has stayed out. I don't think it's made its way back into pit lane that I could see behind me. So very good possibility. Okay, apologies for that. It has come back into pit lane, so there must be a little bit more of an issue there. I was watching for it to come in. I didn't actually see it, but I must have been looking at the timing monitor as it did come in. So there might have been a little bit of pushing, and they pushed it into pit lane as well. So there may be a little bit of a bigger problem on Frost's car than what he actually thought was the issue when they came in there. Cole caught up with him, of course, down in pit lane and saw that there might have been a fuel pressure, an oil pressure issue. But we'll wait and see whether or not there's going to be an issue there with that car. And hopefully they can get it done. Colin, I think, is going to go and try and get back to that car to find out what the issue is and if they're going to have to pull out or maybe find a better solution to what they did originally. Let's see if we can pick up on Colin down in pit lane.
Trevor, you're laughing.
I have to.
But you want to cry.
I do want to cry. All this effort for what, 4 laps, 5 laps.
What's the problem?
I think the engine's blown. We thought it was electronics, but it could be the engine.
As in bits and pieces of metal that shouldn't be, or
Correct valves. I think it's valves.
rings are collapsed, pistons on, the valves are valving, the pistons aren't pistoning.
Yeah, they're not. That's me done for today. 5 laps then.
It's quite, but I suppose it's part of motor racing, eh? You come all this way, you prepare a beautiful car, and it's, we've called this car the Tiger. Whether you've got Bumblebee on the side of it. Nah, we go with Tigers.
Tiger now.
Yeah, so you got a dead Tiger.
Yeah, dead Tiger. But we tried.
That's as long as you gave it your best. One of the other stories that we've got here, Ruan, is the Toyota BMW Toyota. This is the Truttolotta car. You guys have tried so hard. You've kept going. It's now got to electrics. Last you changed all sorts of things. Now it's just plugs.
Yes, we changed the sensor yesterday, and we've picked up problems again. We're not getting signal for start, so we're checking the wiring. We found one of the wires had broken off, so now we're just trying to get that back on together, and then we can see how we go later.
Who broke the wires? Which guy ripped that plug off?
That man there.
Who pulled the wire to break it? And they're all blaming. The driver blames the mechanics blame the driver. That thing of Motrip, their backs are stabbed completely. But there's a bit of a spirit here, and I think that it's just, I'll say this again, up and down the pit lane. People want to go racing. They love racing. They've come far. They've built this car. It's got a Toyota 6-cylinder turbo engine. For you guys who know all the YGEs and all that sort of stuff, it's an exciting car. It's a BMW body with a Toyota, but that's a Toyota motor. That's the new thing. Talking about Toyota, earlier this week we had a discussion on the Toyota Gazoo racing team that has started Rally Morocco today. It's the last round of the World Cross Country Challenge. Fernando Alonso makes his debut in the World Series, along with Carlos Sainz next to him. We had news from Glen Hall. Car. They flew 4 of the latest generation mid-engine Toyota Hilux Buckies. to Morocco for the cars to compete there. Word out of the camp is the strategist, Janil de Villiers, is 90% over his flu. He's with Alex Arra, his new navigator, used to be with Nanny Roma. Now that Nanny Roma's gone from Minis to Borgward, freed that up. The dune surfer, Nasser Al Attiyah and Matthew Baumel. And the sand in Morocco it's unique sand, but it's really, really good training. And then, of course, it's a 5-6 day event. We'll bring you some more news later on that. But that's Rally Morocco. And best of luck to the South African team. I think it's absolutely magnificent. Cool. So to summarize very quickly here, we've got a broken engine. The piston rings look like they've now not ringing. And we've got a broken wire on the BMW. They'll fix the BMW. They'll try and fix the BMW. The Honda motor needs to be replaced on the Ligier. But
Colin,
there's action on the track going to Greg.
Can you hear me, Cole?
Yeah, I've got you, Greg. Our comms is finally working. Best of the year.
Other interesting news coming out of Morocco, of course, is the Kalahari Ferrari. Ross Branch is actually participating in the event as well, leading up to his attempt at a full-on Dakar as opposed to being the rookie. And, of course, he won the rookie championship last year. So not only do we have, of course, the Team Kazoo Racing entries there, but another Southern African entry and a man who's raced almost his entire career here in South Africa, Ross Branch, also known as the Kalahari Ferrari. He's doing an incredible job. He actually was, I think, 4th overall in the prologue yesterday. So he's definitely got a chance of being at the front end. And as a support racer, he is part of the Red Bull KTM squad for Dakar.
There you got it. I was going to say, of course, we've got the cars with the Toyotas, and now we've got the KTMs on the motorbikes. Great that there's so many South Africans who've taken the risk, both financially and physically and mentally, to prepare for what they are now calling Saudi Dakar 2020. It all takes place in Saudi Arabia. Basically do a complete loop of the country. It's going to be different. And it's
incredible
going to be exciting. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the country adapts to the Western ways of the Dakar caravan as they move through, as I say, completely all around the country. It's also the global debut of the mini teams with their new buggies, the latest generation buggies. And Stefan Peter Hansel is driving with his wife. His wife is navigating. So as they draw towards the end of their careers, to finish off that epic race with a family member and especially your wife has got to be quite magnificent.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt.
I'm looking forward to Dakar 2020.
Yeah, it's going to be a top-class event, and of course that's all part and parcel of what we do here on RaceDay TV. We don't only bring you the action that's happening out on track here at Phakisa Freeway, but of course news that might be coming in from all around the world. I'm expecting to get an SMS very shortly from Brad and Darren Binder, so we can find out where they finished up in terms of the qualifying for tomorrow's Moto 2 and Moto 3 at Thailand. If you didn't see any of the social media that went out yesterday, massive hype around a huge incident with the breakage on the rear swing arm there from Marc Marquez's point of view. So we're going to have some fun and games with the Yamahas dominating at the front end of free practice 2 and 3 yesterday. Quantararo beating out his teammate Morbidelli, and of course Maverick Vinales at the top end of that one. So Colin, you back down in pit lane. What else you got for us there, buddy?
Yeah, Greg, there was a little bit of a scare in the Alpha team. Of fuel and so within this, and we've got a car coming in now. Within this, it's Harry Aranges who's just come in. We're going to try and get to follow him.
Cole's taking a bit of strain down there. You can see the link just unfortunately here at Phakisa Freeway due to the fact that we've got a little bit of issues with the link that's coming through here. So we'll stay with picture. We'll stay with the picture there because Ruan's picture is pretty good for now. Not that he's looking at it now. He's going to come back to try and get it fixed up. But of course, Harry Arangi's coming into pit lane there as we saw. Going to just try and get that sorted out in terms of our link. But in pit lane now, Harry Arangi's. I'm not sure if that's a scheduled stop. What do we got? Half an hour done. Oh, it actually might be. Harry might be just coming in and saying, listen, I've had enough out here. Let's put Charles in the car, let him go and try and get a little bit higher up in the field, because I can only get up to 9th. I'm not able to catch Scott Temple and Gerald Wright in this car. But you can see from our high-angled shot here, and this camera, of course, is right on top of the starter box. So we can zoom in there slightly and try and pick up as to if there's going to be a driver change or not. You can see they are just torquing some wheels and some wheel nuts there just to make sure that the wheel nuts are all sorted. They probably would have done a little bit of a splash on that car. It's not usually an endurance runner here. They normally run it only in the hour endurance, but of course now having to pilot this one, as most of their stable have now been sold off to bits and pieces around the country. And did we see a driver change? I don't see one down there. Waiting to see whether or not Harry got out the car, or did he just come in for a splash and dash and just a double check on something that he wasn't happy with. I can see Colin's down there. He might have a bit more news than what I've been able to get to, so let's go back down to Colin.
While we repair the link, the technical part, I've got the invisible man on camera for me, so he's not so good on tilt panning and zooming. News from the Orangi stable with the 350Z is that they originally had entered the 3-hour race, and they made a strategic call to only run the 1 hour of the race. Rules for the 1 hour is that you have to make a 3-minute stop. It was very interesting earlier on in previous races. It wasn't a timed stop, but you had to do a driver change, or the driver to get out of the car, run around the car, and then get back in. It made for some comedic viewing. But he's got 3 minutes to sit still, and in that 3 minutes, the heat soak is absolutely horrendous. Down there, when I was down there just getting the info, the smell from the brakes was just very nice. But that's in a pit stop. You'll see when some of the other cars come in for their stop, they'll put fans on them. Paul Hill in the Aston Martin is one of those, and he'll be coming in probably within the next 10 minutes to do his 3-minute stop. So they'll put some fans on it just to keep air moving and to stop the effects of the heat soak. So Harry has started the car at the moment. They're sitting there with some good timing. And as I said, my invisible cameraman, he's armless at the moment, so he can't move it at all. But he's nodding, and the car just moves out. He's on his way. There, he's back on track. So therefore, we are back on Greg and his Silver Starship.
Thanks, Cole. Yeah, coming back out of pit lane now and making his way back onto the circuit. Harry Orangi's after that compulsory stop. So nice to get that information that's come out of pit lane. Gerald Wright right on his tail. So Wright will probably be looking to, I don't think we'll be able to catch and pass Harry Orangi's, but he has been quicker than Harry Orangi's all race long. Orangi's has dropped out of the top 10 overall. Theo van Vuren now moving back into the top 10 slot ahead of Cara Hill, and Scott Temple now up to 8th. Gerald Wright is 7th. Andrew Horn in 6th with James Forbes and the usual contenders. The top 5 hasn't changed. Craig Jarvis, though, is nearly a minute ahead now of Nick Adcock. 1 minute 14 seconds ahead of Paul Hill. De Matteo is almost a lap down there. And then, of course, it's James Forbes in 5th place. That's your top 5 as we come in there. And there is a move. Paul Hill on Cara. That's quite a nice shot to have. Dad just going past and saying everything okay in the Calyx Polo. Looks like it's all good, but that Aston Martin, of course, with the V12 engine. A little bit more ponies than what the little Polo's got right now. Nice, strong field here. And, of course, the championship is up for grabs still. It's not done and dusted. So, as we've mentioned, and we'll keep mentioning this throughout this, round 5 and round 6 a bit later on, starting at 2:30 if you've just joined us here on our worldwide feed on RaceDay TV via ILEB and via South African Endurance Championships Facebook page. Remember, this is 2 3-hour events that we got today. So if you have just joined us, just a reminder to everybody that we are doing 2 3-hour races. There's a break in proceedings. That break in proceedings basically happens from 12:30 until 2:30. So you've got a 2-hour break to try and fix whatever issues you might have. But I think what a lot of guys are doing, particularly in this one, is just taking it easy and not going to throw caution to the wind in the first race. They're going to try and see these cars through without any problems, without any breakages, and make sure that the cars are good to go and possibly have a bit of a fight of it in round number 6, starting at 2:30 this afternoon. Lap times currently 147s out of Craig Jarvis, 146s out of Nick Adcock, 145s out of Paul Hill. He's fastest on track of the top 3, but of those top 3, we have seen a 1:31 from Craig Jarvis's car in the hands of his teammate, Stuart White. So there's a lot still to play for and a lot still left underneath the bonnet of those cars. They're not even pushing them to probably 75% of their capabilities right now, looking at the lap times. It's all about preservation. It's all about just taking it easy and ensuring that they get to the end of the day's racing. And particularly for the top three, the end of the day's racing, and with the number 1 plate and championship in hand. So running through how things have gone so far, it looks as if it's pretty much just the top 10, as I said, other than Harry Arangi's having to come in there. We did have a bit of a problem for, as you said, Truta and Lotta in the BMW, powered by Toyota. That BMW M3 with the Toyota engine in it has now had to come in for a couple of repairs. We've lost one car, that's Trevor Frost in the Strocam Mining Ligier, after 25 minutes, but there you can see on screen the current standings and how they're doing out on track. Jarvis, Adcock and Hill in the top 3. They're all on this very much the same lap, other than Di Matteo, who's dropping back almost to a lap behind. James Forbes is pretty much close to that as well. Horndog out there with his teammate Howard Blake is in 6th place. Gerald Wright piloting the Wright Motorsport Sports 2000 at this stage in 7th, ahead of Scott Temple in the 2nd of the Nash Sports. Cara Hill is leading Class B ahead of Theo van Vuren for 9th and 10th place overall, having completed the number of laps that have been done right now. And of course we're looking at 40 minutes of racing done, 2 hours and 20 minutes still to go. So a lot of race action still to happen here in round 5, and of course still more to come this afternoon at 2:30. So that's how things stand here at Phakisa Freeway. Sure, now we're going to have a quick look at this circuit, of course, Phakisa Freeway. It's in the Free State. We're just outside of Welkom, of course, in South Africa, which is in the sort of central South Africa if you are joining us from around the world. 4.24 kilometers long. There's 7 right-handers and 3 left-hand corners, and there's about 12 gear changes per lap in the big cars. Top speeds down the back straightaway is the fastest part of the circuit. That back straight is, of course, the straight you can see right at the bottom of your screen, and that comes out of a corner known as Uncini 2. And that corner, of course, puts you onto that back straight where you'll hit about 229 kilometers an hour. Maybe about 240 odd if you're in full pace like Stewie was yesterday in that LMP2 G57 Janetta sponsored by Maui Homes. And Craig Jarvis right now probably sitting in about the 200 to 215k an hour mark. If we run through it though, you've got the first part of the straights there leading between what you can see is turn 1 and turn 2. There's a little kink between turn 1 and 2. Turn number 2, of course, is third gear corner, about 205 kilometers an hour right-hander. Then you go a short straight into what is known as the boot. You can see the boot shape there in the top right-hand side of the circuit. It's a hairpin that comes out of the boot to the toe. You do a left-hander through what is known as Coke bottle, and G-forces going through there. That's probably the biggest G-forces you're going to pull throughout the track is on the second last corner. Short straight into the left-hander that takes you across the start-finish line to complete a lap here at the Phakisa Freeway. Colin's down in pit lane though. Let's catch up with him, see what he's got for us, and action down there.
The chess match continues, and it's funny, but it's not so funny. While we were busy resetting links and stuff and getting the technical, there's a lot of radio interference here, which we tested properly. It worked beautifully, and then things go awry in motorsport. Paul Hill brought the Aston Martin in for his compulsory 3-minute stop, and they changed tyres because the sometimes look at some issues. And not sure if we can carry on going, but we still have to do some resetting. And that's the Schaeffler car, and they've come in for the first of their stops. Interesting that they've only come in now, or that they are coming in now. It looks they're ready for fuel, and we can see Matt Nash back in the background having a go. While I was up and down the pit lane talking to guys, the Alpha Giulia seems to have slowed somewhat, is now 17 seconds behind Kara. And the guys on the radio, the messages on the radio are going, slow down, manage the gap, manage the fuel, manage the tires. So there's this desperate management of everything. Talking to the Honda guys, the target time that Dane Angel has got in the car, it was a 1 minute 57. But he's battling to go that slowly. So he wants a new target time of 1:56. They're going for index of performance win. And the index of performance is how close your lap times are to each other, how consistent you are, not in terms of the ultimate speed. That's the overall the overall result. So they've let him go, and they've now given him an extra half second. Greg, what have you got for us there?
Cool, I'm just going through the times for you. The gap now between Cara Hill and Theo van Vuren, we're looking at approximately 28 seconds now between those two cars. So they are definitely telling Van Vuren to ease off. Van Vuren is now looking at probably about 30 odd seconds up the road from Dane Angel. So in terms of that Class B battle, yeah, equidistant there pretty much, 30 second-ish or 28 to 30 second-ish gaps between the top three. But interesting to see that it's Cara Hill that leads out. She doesn't have to worry about conserving and having to slow down because she's not really involved in the championship. So it could be a first time out for her to take a victory. Theo van Vuren and Dane Angel are playing the chess game.
To Trevor Bland, who's managing Cara in the car. Slow down. So everybody is driving, they're racing as slowly as possible. And I know it sounds weird, but Jackie Stewart always said that the objective of a race is to win it at the slowest possible speed, to conserve the car, to conserve yourself, to conserve the tires, and conserve the fuel. I'm seeing some action down at the Alpha pit. I'm not sure what is happening there. I'm going to try and have a walk down there. At the moment, we've got our invisible man on camera again. So what I'm going to do is, because he hasn't got arms, I'm actually going to help him. So what I'm going to do with Invisible Man is go down here, and I'm onto the Alpha guys. So what while Invisible Man gets sorted out over there, and there's technical stuff and things that are happening, I'm going to go down here, and if our link gets going, I'm trying to find out. I just want to go a little bit more, just a little bit more. And if I start breaking up, guys, you'll understand. We've got some tires and stuff happening here. And just figuring out what this story is.
Looks like we lost Colin's link there, so we'll take the... Maybe
he's coming in now.
Colin, but it looks like he's going to go and chat to some of the guys at Alpha.
Right. There now action starts happening. The Alpha pace car has just been called into action. Now this pit lane is going to start getting busy. I see Invisible Man has been replaced by Ruan back on the camera. Pace car has been deployed. Safety car has happened. The Alpha is coming in. This is important for the Index Challenge here. This is important for the Index Championship. Also coming in is going to be the Janetta. It's going to be for fuel on this car. On the Alpha,
All right, you can see lots of action down there in the pit lane, and of course lots of action still happening out on track as well, but we're trying to pick up on the action on the track. So we're going to see if we can find that action that's happened on track to see what has actually physically gone wrong and what's caused the safety car, because there's definitely a safety car issue. The safety car has picked up on a few cars heading down into turn 2, but I'm not quite sure why that safety car has been deployed, because we haven't picked up on any action. I can't see anything in my pictures at this stage. We're into turn 3, that's turn 5 at the moment. That's coming out of the Coke bottle corner. You can see that big Coke bottle just on the right-hand side of that corner coming through. I don't see any flags in that area. Maybe we can go to the next shot and see if we can pick up on action that's down there at this stage. Gielkop is clear as well, so I don't know where. It must be in the Uncinis then, because we don't have a shot of the Uncinis. Maybe go back to our camera that's in pit lane, the one on top of the start, and the reverse one of that, and just pan right on that. Just pan right if we can on that, guys, and just go across. Uncini 1 and 2 are just at the top of the screen, and I think, is that as far as it goes on the pan? Okay, no, so we can go a little bit further. Let's just have a look and see if we can pick up just past that blue section. Is there, yeah, there, just stop there. And if we can zoom in, I can see Marshall walking in just on the top left-hand side of that. Okay, getting confirmation it's not there. Sorry, I did see a guy walking there, but thank you to our crew for picking up on that action. It's not at that point. It's actually at the pit entrance. Kishore Patamba, by the looks of things, has parked the Castrol Mini in a precarious position just probably to the left of that shot right now. So we just pan left on this one a little bit. Just over that tree on the left-hand side of the shot, you will see why that car, the safety car, is being deployed. Because the Castrol Mini has, unfortunately, there it is there. You can just see it there, yeah. There it is, perfectly done. Thank you, guys. Just keep with that as it goes in. Kish had a problem, parked on the wrong side of the track. If he'd come across on the left-hand side, he probably could have got some assistance to be pulled into pit lane, but it didn't quite work out for him there. So as he goes into pit lane, I've got Gary van der Spey, who's joined me up here in commentary as well. Gaza, it's pretty much plain sailing down there at the moment. There's hardly any activity happening out on track because of the fact that there's so much up for grabs here in this final round.
To Greg and to everybody out there, yeah, it is. But having played and watched some of the timings a little bit earlier on, I think there was a nice game being played between Theo van Vuren and Cara Hill. Fortunately, the Alpha coming in with a bit of a problem.
Just go to Mark a little bit more there. Thanks, Gaza. There we go.
Yeah, just with that Alpha having coming in with a small issue, that problem has gone away. But the crazy things, now we got in that same class, Dana Angel trying to catch up to Cara Hill. And the problem with the Honda, as compared to that little Polo, the Honda's heavier on tyres than the Polo. So if Angel then push the car too hard, they're going to go through a lot of tyres very quickly in this race.
I also heard from Colin, he was chatting to the guys at Angel's Pit, saying, you know, they're busy telling him to calm down, to slow down, to try and stick to the allocated lap times that they've decided on, so they can stay in contention for probably the overall championship in the performance of index.
That's right. At this stage, that's what they should do. If I was them, just stick to your pace, stay to the game plan, and you'll come away with performance of index at the end of the day.
They are going slightly quicker than what they were earlier on. They're now into the 159s, and in fact now just goes into a 158 as he does the pass over the start-finish line again. So I think their allocated lap time would have been sort of a 150-ish kind of lap time.
Correct.
But remember, we're under safety car at the moment, so that's also going to play into account, and the safety car laps do count towards that. So now they've got to try and readjust and recalculate what that performance of index time is going to be and what lap times they need to do once they get restarted here.
That's right. But I think also what's going to be interesting is in the next probably 20-30 minutes or so, we're going to find a change in the drivers in that Janetta up front. And then for those of you that are Stuart White fans, you'll probably end up seeing some exciting laps coming in, because he's got to chase something, and somebody actually did post it for us. See if we can pick it up quickly.
135.96,
yeah,
Valentino Rossi.
Yeah, that's what he's got to pay. No, there was another one by Max Biaggi that went faster, but we'll get to that just now.
Okay, so you can find that, but according to my understanding and what I've had as the previous outright lap record, Valentino Rossi was the quickest here. Reason being is that I know Greg Gildenhuys nearly broke that lap record on a motorcycle here during what was at that stage Interfile Superbike Championship.
That's right, but David White actually put up something for us. He says in 2004 MotoGP, Max Biaggi did a 1:33.2, but I don't know if that was in a race or was it in
I think that was in qualifying.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, it has to be done during a race scenario to make it an outright lap record.
That's
and I'm
right,
not sure if Biaggi's time was during the race. I've always come to the understanding that Valentino Rossi was still the outright lap record holder here. And if I'm not mistaken, it was like a 1:35.9.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do have that information and you can go and Google it, and we unfortunately don't have that ability to do it while we're on the fly here, but if you do find that, I think it's about a 1:35.9 if I'm not mistaken. And my understanding that it belongs at this stage to Valentino Rossi as we get back underway with the racing. Yeah. Racing starts again. Under green flags, and now the field is sort of concertinaed back up again. Led out of turn number 1 as they come through there for the first time by Gerald Wright, and on his tail it's the Alfa Romeo. So things just starting to sort themselves out there in the mid-pack. I'm waiting to see the Janetta. It's ticking them off one by one, going on the inside of Cara Hill into turn 2. This little left-hand flick is not taken as a turn. Turn 2 is where they get on the brakes and actually turn in there. Then they go, as you can see in the background, you've got the mine in the background, and the short straight down towards the toe of the boot. And the boot, basically, that's where things change up. Other thing that we need to take into account, of course, speaking of MotoGP, while we've got a chance to jump in there, I actually just got info coming through there. It looks like there's going to be a bit of a change-up at the front end of how it's been all weekend long. Quartararo, once again, quickest in qualifying. So he went quickest in qualifying ahead of Maverick Vinales. Then it was Marc Marquez, incredibly recovering after that massive incident yesterday where his swing arm broke on the Honda. Morbidelli is up into 4th place. Then it's Petrucci. Jack Miller is 6th ahead of Dovi. Then you've got Jean Muir. Then only Valentino Rossi in 9th place. So on the 3rd row of the grid, then it's Alex Rins, Paul Espargaro, and Elias Espargaro up in the front end as well in the top 12. So your front 4 rows are made up of Yamahas mainly. We've got 2 Ducatis up there, both of the Suzukis, and then of course we've got 1 KTM and 1 Aprilia in the top 10 for tomorrow's MotoGP at Chang International Circuit in Thailand.
And also not to forget, we've also got 2 South Africans playing over in DTM this weekend. We've got Sheldon van der Linde and Jonathan Aberdeen, who are doing DTM duty this weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in race 1 today and then race 2 again tomorrow.
Well, it looks like they came in for a fuel stop as well, getting information from Stuart White Racing's page. Craig came in for a quick fuel stop under the safety car. So it's definitely made a plan. He's certainly made an effort to come in just to do a little splash and dash there and ensure that they may not have to be caught out with any fuel issues later on. So that might not be a bad strategy to have, considering that they aren't lapping at lap record pace. It has dropped him down 1 position. It's dropped him to 1.5 seconds behind Nick Adcock. But it means that they could possibly, looking at how much, no, they won't be able to do a full 2 hours on one fuel.
No, they can't. They are running roughly, they'd probably do 3 stops in this race, purely because of fuel and possibly tires. We're not sure, depending on how hot the track gets and how much of the degradation happens to those tires in that big car.
Well, we heard from Colin earlier on. You probably heard it on the feed.
Yeah.
Current ambient temperatures we're looking at this stage, we're up to 22 degrees Celsius. So it means that track temperatures are going to be about 35, 36 degrees Celsius. So it is definitely a big factor for today, and it's going to get hotter and hotter through the day. So if I'm not mistaken, the Jarvis team runs Pirellis on that car. Those Pirellis are going to have to just be managed carefully throughout this 3 hour and, of course, into the next one.
Yeah, and another interesting dice that's happening over here is between the Nashes and what we call the 2-litre sports cars. You got Andrew Horn at the moment up in the Nash. He's busy leading that class. Second behind him is Gerald Wright. Now, those two are very close on points overall and index of performance overall.
Correct.
So that's quite an interesting dice that's coming up and looking very good. Although Scott Temple could throw a spanner in the works, he's pretty quick in that Nash. So
Temple, I think, could be in with a chance. If we look at what the last time, Scotty and James were the fastest at Swartkops.
Yeah.
So, and of course, they won that index of performance at Swartkops. So, Scott and James Temple, definitely a car to watch out for in that index of performance for the overall win for the day. But in terms of the overall championship, it's up to Andrew Horn, Gerald Wright, and of course the Honda of Dane Angel and Jared Evans. That's the fight for the overall championship in index of performance.
That's correct. So it's going to be interesting to see what they actually come up with and how they play it out. The Nashes are kinder on their tires than what the heavier Honda is, the sedans. And they also are a bit lighter on fuel, so that's going to be an interesting game, and a lot of calculations going on in the pits to work out where. Eh?
I don't think we've got enough calculators down here in Phakisa to do the calculations that have to happen for the next, what we're looking at, 2 hours, and then still another 3 later on this afternoon. So
that's right.
Another 5 hours of racing before we can decide who's going to be the number one in each of these classes and the number one overall. Adcock currently lapping 47s, 48s out of Jarvis. He's got a slightly heavier fuel tank, so it will slow him down ever so slightly, but still 1.512 seconds behind Nick Adcock for the lead. Cars coming in and out of pit lane as well. There's a couple of cars doing some little splash and dashes and maybe scheduled stops now as opposed to the ones that they... And in fact, if you're going to do a scheduled stop and you've got a safety car within 5 minutes of that scheduled stop, surely you want to come in during the safety car, not to lose time.
That is correct, yeah. And also see, Greg, we're getting down to... we've been racing now for 55 minutes and 21 seconds. So there's 4 and a bit minutes left for the end of the 1 hour. And the current stage over there, we have, it looks like Paul Hill that is leading the 1 hour.
No, is he racing in both? Because I wanted to check that with you. I didn't get a chance to chat to you before. Is he only doing the hour?
He's only doing the hour.
So he's got 4 minutes to go before he wraps things up there.
That's right, yeah.
And he's ahead of both Arunjis and Arunjis, and they I think should be in about 11th or 12th there, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm going to just scroll down, have a quick look over here. Yeah, you got Harry Arungis. Charles is not participating today, so we got Harry Arungis who's going to take it in second, and then quite possibly Trevor Frost. That's in the list.
Frosty, I don't know if he's got back out again. Has he got back out again? Because I know they had issues on that car. So I think he's possibly out. He's 19th place, yes, but he's
15 laps.
He's 15 laps out, and he pulled out at 25 minutes. So that stroke cam car is out. So he'll still get 3rd place in the hour, having completed.
That is correct, yeah.
What are we looking at? How's he completed there? He's completed.
Okay, he did.
I can't see how many laps he's done. 7 laps.
Yeah.
He's done. No, he might not get classified.
No.
He might not get classified. He probably would have to have done at least. What are we looking at there? Harangi is going to probably do about 30.
Yeah, if you
that's
look
not enough percentage.
No, the percentage.
He needs about at least 10 or 12 laps, and he hasn't done that. So he might not be
correct,
classified, which is a pity there for Trev. And I mean, he was disappointed, but he was still smiling when he got out the car.
Yeah, it's quite difficult when you have a look at those things and you get something out there and something fails and you didn't expect to fail, and then so it carries on. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Although John Oliver and Graham Foss are also having a very nice dice in 12th and 13th. Those are 2 of the Nash cars as well. And they not too far apart from one another. They're pretty close, running roughly at the similar lap times, 57s, 56s. And it's going to be interesting to see, but okay, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to cross back to the pits. Colin's got some more information coming out of the pits.
A short while ago, while we were sorting out our link issues, the Alpha came into the pits and Theo van Vieren got out of the car. They changed from slicks. Theo, they started out as slicks and they ended up as carcasses. Were you expecting the tyre wear to be that aggressive?
Nah, not at all. It's really, really hectic. So, I mean, it's much more wear than we thought. I think we've backed it off totally now. So the temperature and the wear on the track is hectic.
I think one of the guys was running around the track physically doing a track run, and he was saying that the surface of the track is almost like needles and it just eats into the tires.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the set that came off there. So I mean, it's canvas basically on both right and on the inside, total canvas.
Now you did a lot of testing. Can we go and have a look here? You did a lot of testing. You made the right choice of tires, and I mean, they're basically just worn out properly.
Yeah, so basically that's just pure abrasiveness of the track. So running slicks is definitely not an option.
And you put the semi slicks back on the car now. What sort of life? Well, hopefully you'll get to the end of the race now.
Well, now we'll see what we do. We've got another new set we brought in yesterday because we thought we might have this problem, but we'll see how it goes for the second race. We're going to watch what Keegan does now with this set, and we'll probably, if we have to, do a split. So we.
Colin just trying to get some information. I'm sure he'll relay that information as soon as he gets there. Maybe we pick up on him again. Gary, I mean, we didn't hear what the interview there was with Theo, but it looks like there's a bit of strategy that's coming into play there from their side too, to ensure that they get that Alpha right to the end of the day's racing.
Yeah, from what I managed to gather from that sort of thing, they were running slicks. And now they're going to go back to normal road tires that they use, similar to those that used to be run in the production cars, because they are slightly longer lasting.
Yeah.
And not going through that, because if that's a deterioration in 50 odd minutes on a set of slicks, these guys will be in 4 pit stops just to get through a 3-hour race.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big factor today. We've already mentioned it on numerous occasions and probably keep mentioning it throughout the day, is how well you can maintain and manage your tires. What tires have you decided to run here? Phakisa is not necessarily the biggest tyre wearing circuit that we've got on the calendar, but with the abrasive surface that has been here for a long time, it's not as kind to tyres as some of the other newer surface tracks or newer tracks that the Endurance Championship goes and races on. So yeah, it is definitely a big factor that's taken into account here. Heat is going to become a big one as well as we get into the midday. At this stage, we're already going up to sort of the 24 degrees Celsius mark. So it's already 4 degrees hotter than what it was when we started this race. And track temperatures are going to start getting hotter and hotter as well. I'm just looking across there and looking to see when we get to sort of pit lane shots. There is a very, very small breeze, but that's not big enough to affect track temperatures in my estimate. There you can see on those modal flags here, just showing us that they've got a little bit of a breeze down in pit lane, but it's not ideal conditions to cool the track down.
There should be a checkered flag coming out shortly for the end of the 1 hour, but I see that Paul Hill is still on circuit, and so is so they could be on their last lap. Arranges, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're probably on their last lap. If they didn't see it on that pass, they'll probably get it on the next pass. I didn't see the checkered flag lady or man who was manning that duty today come out and put the checkered flag out. It was on standby as I went to go and check something at the back of the screen. So if the flag is out, we're expecting to see Paul Hill and Arranges come in, which means Colin can hopefully get to them and have a quick chat to them about winning the hour endurance for round 5.
That's right, yeah.
And they've still got to go out later on and possibly go and do it a little bit later on today again. Colin's down there at this stage, so let's quickly shoot down to him and see if he's picked up on any of those two drivers.
In fact, it was the checkered flag that was given to the guys. Paul Hill and Harry Arranges are in the car, so we're going to have a quick chat with Paul and see if he can come out of the pits so that we get our sound going. Paul, well done. That was hard work. Can we move out so we can get our link going? Winner of the 1 hour. You had fun.
Didn't feel like an hour. When they said I have to come in for the 3-minute stop, it sounded a bit strange that it's already half an hour. And then went back out. I got a penalty for passing a guy under the safety car coming out. So I came back through and they said you got 2 laps to go. It's very weird.
Well, just feeling super short and the time flew by. You were having so much fun.
Yeah, I know, it's great. So the car handled well. It's just the tyres are falling apart on this track very quickly.
Have you seen a track in this country that's as aggressive on the tyres as this?
No, this is the worst by far. This is my worst. This is the worst for tyres. I mean, PE is by far the best for tyres.
Are we hearing that up and down the pit lane? The Alpha guys were telling us that they've never seen tyre wear as bad as this, and they're just backing off and managing things.
Well, that's what I see happening on the track. Is a lot of cars in the start, when I first lapped them, they look fine. Now those guys are playing drift club out there through the corners. Those tyres, I think they're all going to be coming in pretty soon to change. That's why we're not doing the 6 hour, because we knew what the condition of the track was.
Yeah, you'd probably end up running through a set of tyres every 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, with the Aston, just as well we did the hour, because I've had to turn the traction control up and the ABS up so we can actually stay on the track. It started getting a lot of understeer from the degradation. That's why when we did the 3-minute stop, we actually rotated the tyres, because the front left was just totally poked. I just feel sorry for the Alphas and those guys. I mean, they've got the same problem. Those guys are going to be cooking front lefts the whole of today.
But that's racing.
We need rally tyres.
And a couple of times you passed your daughter, Kara Hill, in the Calyx.
She blocked me once. I think she blocked me once.
We're going to have a proper talk to her a little bit later. You're going to have a father-daughter chat about blocking dad.
Nah, I think she was just trying to get at me. And then when I went out after the drive-through penalty, she tried to dive me in quarter 2. I mean, that's just rude.
No, well, she's got to have a go. You must have a go.
Someone has to sponsor a car, huh?
Thanks a lot for doing that.
Thanks.
Right, that's Paul Hill. We're going to see the other runner in the 1 hour, Harry Arranges. Half in and half out of his overall. But we'll have a quick chat with him. Well, Harry, nice and sweaty.
Oh, very nice and sweaty, but fantastic race, I must say. It was great, eh?
And you love this 350Z, eh?
I do. You know, after Port Elizabeth, This is my car. I love it. I love driving it. It's, in fact, you know, it handles so well, but the tires are shot. I had a power steering problem during the race. That's why I just went slower and tried to keep the car on the track and finish the race.
But you've got a huge smile on your face, and we love to see drivers get out of the car smiling and having enjoyed an hour in the racing.
You know me, Colin. That's what I do. I always smile.
And keep smiling.
Thanks a lot. All things are going well.
Harry, thanks for the chat.
Thanks, my friend. Sitting
Next to him, you can just feel the heat radiating off him. It's hot. It's an issue. Safety car starting to go out. I see the Alpha QV moving along, which means you're going to have to come with me, Ruan, because down here, as the safety car came out, every guys start running from the wall. There's a whole lot of chilledness here. Trevor Bland, very quickly, Trevor, when are you guys coming in for your stop?
We're trying to push for an hour and a half.
Awesome, thanks for that. Right, they're trying to push for an hour and a half. Ligier has come in. The Alpha Giulia has now gone on to its semi-slick tires. Right, Franco Di Matteo has brought the car in. It looks like it's not a scheduled stop. We will find out why, but hold on, more work on the Honda here. You gave him an instruction and you said to him it's okay, you can go to your 56.5 lap time. Is Dane still happy in the car?
Yeah, he is. He's finding it very difficult to drive at the slower rate. 1 second.
While he's talking to us, messages coming in and out of the car. Right, we will find out from Franco Di Matteo shortly.
You've got about 3/4 of a lap to catch up to him, so give it.
The rules on the safety car are, before they can bring the car in, is that everybody's got to catch up in the queue and get things sorted out. You were talking about he was finding it very difficult to do his 56.5. What times has he been doing?
So, I mean, we qualified on a 51.9, so, I mean, that's the potential that the car's got, even faster if he really pushed. So now to do a 56.5, to drop almost 5 seconds off the pace, I think it's a lot harder than driving at full tilt the whole time. I mean,
but you know, we talk about the cars going slowly. Motorsport has always been about managing resources. The resource you've got in terms of money and people, and now what's coming to play are the tires and the fuel. So again, it's clever management and driving as fast as you can with the resources.
Absolutely. I mean, he just came on the radio now at 1 hour 8 minutes and saying the tires are done. So I mean, we've got to push it. Our window opens in 12 minutes. And unfortunately, the safety car's out now, which is about 10 minutes too early. So we've got to manage our lap times and our fuel and tires all the way at the 1 hour and the 1.5 hour mark. That's our strategy. I mean,
so you're determined to make that hour and a half so that you can stop. You don't think that it's worthwhile coming in now while you lose as little track position with the safety car?
I think, yeah, there is that aspect of it, but at the same time now we come in at an hour 10. We have to push this other set of tires 20 minutes longer than they should, and already if they're going out at 108, I wouldn't want to push that far. So I think with Jared Evans jumping in the car and doing 56.5, 57s, I think we need to keep it as close to 1.5 as possible.
It's going to be interesting. Hey,
I
love this chess match.
It is absolutely a chess match. Absolutely.
Greg's got a question for us.
Colin, it looks like it might be the Alpha that's in trouble out there, and I know you're chatting there to the team from Honda, so that might just be something that they need to take into account.
Apparently the Alpha looks like it might be an issue. You don't know what the... just ask Dane,
we're just trying to pick up on
Angel.
No, we're trying to pick up on exactly where it is. Maybe Dane can pick up on it?
Sorry, repeat.
Can you ask Dane to which car has caused the yellow?
The red Alpha lost a wheel.
Red Alpha lost a wheel. There you go. Not the white Alpha.
No, not the white Alpha. And it looked like the white Alpha had a flat tire early on. And then Dan was saying the Calyx Polos looks like it's got a lot of blowback coming out of the last corner as well. He says he's very skeptical whether it will last the whole race.
By blowback, you mean as she comes off the throttle, there's all sorts of smoke and stuff?
Yeah, a lot of black smoke, he's saying, yeah.
It's a race of attrition. Whereabout is the red Alpha stopped?
1 second.
It's kind of nice where we've got... Hold on a minute. Thanks a lot. We're going to go. I'll tell you what, we're going to go. I'll tell you why. Because one of our race favorites has come in here. It's the 8-call 24/7 car. It looks like a routine stop. They're checking tires. They've got fuel going in. He's still in the car. Nick Adcock is just chilling, having a good inspection on the rims and on the tires. Fuel's gone in. Fuel is done. He's starting. We've got race engineer Benoit. Let's have a quick chat. See if Benoit will chat to us. Benoit, you happy with things as they're going at the moment and your stop?
Yeah, everything's fine. I mean, we're just trying to catch up the safety car queue to fill up the radio. Just to fill up the fuel tank. So we should be pretty good in terms of strategy. We should get that stop for free because we'll catch back the safety car, and we were at the back of the queue anyway. So we'll just have the stop for free. So it's pretty good news in terms of race. How it will go for the end. Sorry, radio again.
This is fun. Benoit travels around the world, does a lot of LMP, Blancpain engineering. A great traveller. Are you enjoying the sunshine of South Africa versus some of the cold in Europe?
Yeah. I mean, at the moment,
Celsius.
it's still not really cold yet in Europe, so it's more than bearable. I was in Barcelona last week. It was 30 degrees as well. Yeah. But, well, it's pretty interesting to come back here. I mean, it's different racing. Many different cars that we don't have such spread in the field in Europe. So it makes things a bit more interesting in different ways.
And from a global point of view, you've seen the roughness of this track and how hard it is on tyres. You've seen that anything similar throughout the world?
I've seen worse, actually. I've seen worse.
Which one is worse?
Jerez, south of Spain, in summer, killing tires everywhere. It's not so bad. Can manage that.
And is he managing the tires through just easing the car into corner entry?
Yeah, definitely. We're trying not to put lateral load mid-corner to reduce that. So we need to keep some pace as well, obviously, but try to give a bit more life in the tires, not to overload them. And it should be fun. Looking good. We looked at the tire in the stop. They're fine. Pretty fine.
Benoit, thanks a lot for chatting. Have fun in the rest of the race.
Thank you very much.
Great guy all over the world. One of the things, Jesse Huggett, if we can find him, he's been telling us about how he gets the temperature, and see if Jess is around here, and he'll do a live temperature. Just check out the tire temperature. Jess, can you come and do your temperature thing? They're always really cool to help the 8 Call 24/7 guys. We're going to go down to the Alpha and see what's happening with the Alpha, but at the moment we've got a gaggle of 2-litre cars coming in. These are the top runners in 2-litre. They're having one huge gas race, but it's still under safety car, which means, as Benoit said, that's the Scorer car, the Wilson car, and the Oliver car. So Oliver, it's yellow. Do you get it, Oliver? It's not an Opel, but it's a Volkswagen. Look it up. It's a bit of fun. So Jesse is not going to. Jesse, come on, come and do your thing for us. Jesse Huggett, hell driver of note. One of Cape Town's finest tuners. Jesse, just show us how you do this stuff.
There we go.
John and Ron, can you see over here? You get the temperature.
34 degrees.
And ambient temperature? Oh, we've got to just wait for it to cool down. But I'll tell you what, I've got my temperature gauge for the... I'm thinking it's about 27. But it's 30.
That's 30. You're good.
Let's test the ground again, please. Right, let's have a good look there.
33. There we go to 34. Yeah.
It'll keep going. Right, 34 degrees centigrade. Well, we've got another pit stop coming here. It's starting to get a little bit busier here. And finally, our invisible cameraman, we fired him. We didn't like him. He just didn't do the job. So he's gone. I've got Ruin, my trusty cameraman, and our technical things have been sorted out with our link. We've got this super new way of doing our link where it's unidirectional stuff. We've got a gyroscope on it down there, which is absolutely magnificent. So there's Ruan, my guy. Right, we have a Honda. He told us porcupines that they were going to try and wait, but it's gone long enough, so they're going to put the brand new tires on. And let's see if we can find Jared. There wasn't a couple of moments ago, there wasn't a plan to stop. Now they're going to put you in, and what target time have they given you?
Yeah, I mean, my target time is basically the same as Dane, eh? So it's It's for between 57s, 56s, just see how the car's handling and try to keep it as consistent as possible.
And Benoit from the Aid Call 24/7 team, the engineer there, was looking at keeping lateral load going on. So just show us your transponder.
There it is.
And how do you've got a little bracket, you just shove it on?
Yeah, we've just got a pouch that hangs off the frame of the chassis. So as I get in, I put mine on the roof, Dane unclips, takes his out, drops mine in, and closes it up. Easiest way to do it.
So it's Dane's job to swap over transponders.
Yeah, Dane normally swaps over transponder.
Right, he's ready. So let's talk the car in. And they've got a very interesting lollipop here. You can see the lights in here, and engage loud pedal for when he goes. On the stop side of it, we'll have a look on the other side. These guys are freaking hilarious. Right, brings the car in. He's going to stop on his marks. The water is there to keep the fuel away from everything that's hot. Earth strap on. Water on the air exit. There you go. He's got his transponder on the roof, as he said. And Dane, the Rock Angel, will swap. That's his. And the new transponder goes in. Seatbelts going in. The dead man, the old man, on the stop-go is Marcel Angel, Dane's dad. They are going to look like they're going to change the tires. These things don't look as bad as the others.
I don't think this isn't plugged in.
Busy plugging stuff in, getting the. Sorry, it's a bit rude to just go and shove your microphone in there, but they getting him plugged in. The fuel is done. Now the car will go up and they'll start on the tires. 1 minute has gone on the stop. Guys timing from that side. Wheels off. And this is the kind of time where there's a natural ability or natural desire to want to rush the job, but they just take it slowly, take it nicely, and they get it done. Wow, those tires don't look bad at all compared to the Alpha. And I'll try and bring this one. Ron, if you can come around here, let's have a look at this one that's just come off. That's actually not bad at all. Eh? For the time compared to the Alpha, this thing it's actually looking quite lacquer. So they definitely will end up running in the second race. They'll run it a lot longer. You can see the wear over here. And the other thing is just on this tire. If you get it close in here, Ruan, you can see how the rubber's it's just been ripped off here. The surface is super aggressive. Dane, the Rock Angel, that was frustrating and a chess match of note where you were finding it difficult to drive slowly.
Yeah, we're trying to get into our own rhythm, but we kept having back markers come up and then guys that were slightly quicker than us in what we want to do, but then they would slow down. So yeah, it was a bit frustrating, but is what it is.
And you've got a pit stop for free now under the safety car. A little bit early to make it all the way to the end.
No, we sort of did all our fuel numbers yesterday, and I think we'll be fine. What do you think?
You hope it'll be fine.
Exactly.
Well done on that stint.
Cool, thanks, eh?
Right, let's just quickly. The left-hand tire is this one over here. So, from yes, it's hot. It definitely is. So these are the two tires. Not bad wear at all. Let's just have a quick talk to the official. He was Francois was walking away. Let's just have a quick shot. Yeah, we're just going to have a quick word because Francois, you had a bit of a chat with him. Were you guys happy with the stop? No problem.
Happy with the stop, no problem. Their speed was just close to being high. They were 1 kilometre an hour away from being penalised. So I just wanted to warn them and tell them be careful that you don't want to you don't want to drive through penalty for no reason.
Because one of your jobs is spit cop down the pit lane.
I'm the pit stop speed cop, yeah.
And what's the max speed that they allowed you?
They're allowed 60 kilometres per hour.
And how do you measure it? You got a gun somewhere?
Yes, we have. The marshals have a speed gun, which is kindly supplied by Trevello, who's a world leader in this kind of equipment, and they supply that to us with calibration certificates and everything for every event.
Oh my word! Do you have operator certificates?
We have the lot.
Sure, because it's important. Thank you, Francois. Francois, who runs the pit lane. But for now, I look and I see no safety car boards, which means it's time for Greg in the Silver Starship way over there to take over. Back to you, Greg.
Thanks, Colin. Yeah, just a little bit of action that's been happening down in pit lane there as we've been under safety car for probably the last 10 laps. A couple of changes in that top 10, though. We did see Adcock having the lead going into that safety car situation, but Craig Jarvis has now resumed that lead and pulled about a 2-second lead over the Adcock 24/7 machine there. So it didn't quite work out for Adcock, him coming in a little bit earlier. Jarvis's little splash and dash definitely helped him, and he's resumed the lead now. They're all currently lapping on 2-minute 56s, but remember that was under safety car. As we resume racing conditions once again, those lap times will come back down into the sort of 47s and 48s, and that's what they'll try and maintain until they get to the end of this round 5 of the championship. And of course the first race today here of the 2 3-hour events at the Mopar South African Endurance Championship. The car's heading down towards Geelkop there. There was an incident. It was with the Alfa Romeo. It's the Alfa Romeo GT. I'm not quite sure who's in that car. I think it might have been Martin Buerter who started the race in that car. So he unfortunately has had an issue on the car where the wheel came off. They've put it onto the flatbed. The flatbed will bring that car back into pit lane. And once it's back in pit lane, of course, they will then be able to sort things out. Sorry, I beg your pardon, it was Terence Ladner. Terence Ladner started that race in the car. So Terence Ladner with the wheel coming off completely. They probably would have salvaged the wheel and the car, put it back onto the flatbed and brought it back into pit lane now for a quick repair job at the Alpha team.
I also see that the Mini has managed to get back out again. They've got Chris Badnick in the car at the moment. So that's nice to see that car back out. And obviously doing a pretty good job. A lot of work to do to keep keeping the pace, but racing's racing and anything can happen.
And if we look at things at the moment, Craig Jarvis is leading things out, as you can see there. Currently ahead of Nick Adcock and James Forbes, the top 3. Andrew Horn is now up to 4th. So Tory, who did a swap out during that safety car situation as well, with his teammate Franco Mateo, he's now down in 5th place. So Romano having to do a little bit of work to try and catch Andrew Horn. Andrew Horn, though, has moved a long way ahead of Dean Wilson, their closest rivals in Class V. And Dean Fent has actually snuck ahead of Wilson. So the two Deans fighting for 8th and 9th place. Cara Hill, as we heard, having a little bit of blowback issues as they went into turn number 1 and 2. You have to keep an eye on that Calix Polo. Hopefully it's not going to be a big problem. But you heard from Trevor Bland, also down in pit lane, saying that they were looking for about an hour and a half in the car before they brought it in for that first pit stop. So they got about 4 minutes to go on that.
Yeah, that's right.
To bring Cara in for her scheduled stop. So that's how things stand coming into the resuming of racing proper after a long period under safety car. A little bit of action down in pit lane that we picked up on from Colin, and there you can see confirmation of that Castrol Mini of Chris Budnick and Kish Patamba, who are now back on track.
Yeah, what else is interesting out there is for all of those that like the high-speed stuff or the very fast things, the Craig Jarvis Janetta 57 is going to be out there for another 4 or 5 minutes. They're running he's going to run a 2-hour stint. And then young Stree White will jump in for the last hour of the race. So, those of you who expect certain things to tumble, it's probably going to happen in that hour when Stree White gets into the car. Although, it won't happen in the first couple of minutes as he'll have a full tank of fuel. But obviously, new tyres and that could possibly bring that lap record in sight.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a possibility of a clean lap as well. You've got to take into account there, Gary. If they're not getting the clean lap in, will that lap record fall? I think we're certainly going to see a lap record falling here today. The unofficial lap record, of course, is Max Biaggi's 133. According to what I found on the internet, the official lap record here is still that 135 from Rossi. So anywhere underneath that 135 mark would be good enough to take the lap record. Whether or not we're going to see 131s out of Stuart White, I don't think.
No.
Because of the fact that they are trying to still have a chance of taking this championship, and they don't want to go and risk breaking the car or possibly coming up on a slower car that ruins the chances of them doing the championship here today.
Yeah, it's interesting, but also nice to see that the Nick Eckel 8-core car is running smoothly and seems to be out of trouble. The same with the number 333, which is James Forbes and Frans Kleinons. In the other 53 EVA.
Yeah, Point Blank Racing's one. Will do. So as they're looking at the top 3 there, just getting confirmation in my ears to who are the cars that are actually out at this stage. We've only got 2 cars that have had problems. One of them is Trevor Frost. We mentioned him at 25 minutes going out there in the Strocam Mining Ligier.
That's right.
And the other one is the Globetrotter BMW powered by Toyota, and that is Truter and Lotta that are the pilots of those 2 cars. So we've only lost 2 cars out of that. But down in pit lane, Colin's got something happening.
Well, it's not quite the action that's happening now, but it's the action that's going to be happening. Because right over here, we've got, they've just stood down. They told me 2 laps ago that Kerry Hill was going to be coming into the pits. They did a McLaren. They came out into the pit lane, they laid their tyres out, and then they went back in. But they're still here. Let's just have a quick chat to Dad. Dad, the fuel mechanic. Paul, one more lap and then she's in.
No, she's pushed it too fast. She's run out of fuel.
Oops.
Oops.
Is the car stopped completely?
Well, they're just trying to tell her to get us crank it over, but it stopped, so that's it.
Right, so she pushed it a little bit too further. The fine line, the limits. She was due to come in, and he's not happy. He's bleak as. Let's just see if we can talk to Trevor. So the car is stopped. Trevor, can she get the car going again?
No, there's no fuel, so no, not at the moment.
No fuel, motions are high. They were doing incredibly well. There's a few, I think they're frustrated because they're saying a lot. And I'm sure that means frustrated. Let's have a quick word here with Harry. We'll call him Happy Harry again. Happy, you satisfied how things are going at the moment?
Oh yeah, very, very. I think we've won with both safety cars. We really have. We were the last car in front of the safety car when it did the first time around. So we literally lost 4 seconds in total behind the first safety car. And the second safety car, we managed to do a 2-minute 14 pit stop without being hindered. So I think that's a win.
Yeah, so there's lots of happiness here. And the Phakisa has run out of fuel.
Which Phakisa?
Polo.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, she pushed it 1 lap, and you don't have any report back from Jared about it?
No, Jared's not the talkative type on the radio. You really have to beg him to talk to you on the radio. Dane doesn't stop, but Jared, you hardly get anything out of him.
Yeah, well, good luck with the rest of the race.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
It's about management of fuel and making sure you push it as long as possible and not just a little bit too much as Kara did. The guys are going to go and try and find Kara and see if they can push her. They call him lightweight, but he's off, and there he goes. Jared.
Polo's going very slow coming onto the sweep, onto the back straight now. Still driving.
So they managed to get the Polo going.
Colin, she's on Unchini 2 coming onto the back straight.
And
she's coming out of
I see a yellow flag.
Coming onto the back straight, yeah.
It's a safety
car is
car
being
We're
deployed.
Pull her back in and we can fuel up and let her go.
Awesome, thank you very much. Right, so they've called a safety car, which means they get an opportunity to bring her back. They'll refuel her and get going. And while the safety car is out, we've got another pit stop going on here. And this will be for the backdraft boys in the red car. Now, they've had a torrid time from a reliability point of view. And one of the things we want to do is talk to Tony Martin, who runs the whole team. And just in terms of the development push that they've had on the turbocharged cars, they're looking to race up front, but there is a bit of a development push. So what have we got happening here? And Trevor Graham's going to get in the car. Brian Martin is currently in the car. They'll stop a little bit. The back of the car will be here, and then they'll get into action as they do a driver change. Right, he's in at the bottom end of the pit lane. He'll stick to his 60 kilometer an hour fuel limit. They're going to stop right in front of our van here, and we are observing the pit lane. Got to face the cars coming in our ATS fireproof overall while they do the refueling. Right, brings the car in, and doesn't look like they're going to do a tire change. He's overstepped his marks just a couple of millimeters. They're turning the steering wheel to have a good look at the tires. There's no power steering at the moment. Right, Brian Martin gets out. Let's have a look at this front tire here. Nice, looks pretty good. Left hand front has got a little bit more wear, but not to critical levels. Trevor Graham getting in, and Brian will just help him strap. And there's a lot of heat coming off the thing with no air flowing through the cars now. We get tremendous heat soak, and heat soak just, there's no air flowing through to take the heat away, so that hot air boils and bubbles and toils and causes troubles inside, and there's all sorts of yuck smells coming out of there. But it doesn't smell bad. But they'll just have a quick look. They're talking about the oil pressure light having come on. Big look. Always need a dipstick. Dipstick comes out, wiped off with a racing glove. I'll shove it back in, and if need be, they'll drop some more CalGuard oil into the thing. Have a bit of a look at that gauge you can see on top of the engine. The white gauge is a fuel pressure gauge, so that they can, well, clearly, so they can check the fuel pressure. I mean, duh. Right. Come on, Brian, get a good read on that. You know, normally you zip down to your friendly service station, and they'll do that check a whole lot quicker. Service and oil change. Check the oil, man. Check the oil guy. Let's just ask him there. It is thirsty. It is using some oil. So we will wait for the oil to come. It's going to be a bit of a longer stop. Wow. 20 litres, 10 litres coming in. Fox Titan, apparently that is. 4 litres going in.
No, 2 pints.
You happy with the car, Brian Martin?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just precautionary. Probably could have made it to the end like it was, but just in case.
That deep breathing you're doing there, I know you're standing right next to me.
My driver in.
Yeah.
The driving was easier. It's strapping him in, it's so hard.
And but it's nice and hot, but you're sitting in an open car, so you got proper ventilation.
I got water, a radio. Lovely, man.
What more could you want?
I had a lovely time.
And speed? You got that?
Got a lot of speed, eh?
When are we going to see it, Tony? I mean, Brian?
Next race.
Love winding you up.
Next race.
Thanks for the chat. And we are being just friendly, eh?
Yeah. You know, we finish this race, we win the championship GT5.
That was magnificent.
Just got to finish.
We're hoping you are. So some of the gunk that comes out of the car, and we're seeing the 333 out there. Have a look here, Ron. You can see some of the gunk, that this was all the stuff on the inside, marbles and dirt and detritus that comes off the track. This is once was a slick. Some of the slicks on these cars cost 30,000 Rand a set. Now, one of the things that they've always said to me when I find these things is to chew it. It's magnificent. It tastes like magnificent.
Tastes like Phakisa Freeway.
This is
Freeway gum.
Phakisa flavor, brought to you by Freeway Gum. If your mouth is feeling like it's a family show, like gunk, right? We joke, but yeah, it's Freeway chewing gum. I'm not going to do that again. And across there in the front, so we'll walk through a pit stop as if we were the 333. We just walk through a pit stop. And thanks, guys. I didn't stop. Sorry, we've got to go around again. We've got to go around again and behave like we're proper drivers. Come along, and he says stop. So now, can you make me go? Oh, I'm going to say, oh, there we go. Whoop, and off we go. The reason we're here is coming through the back. Little back door entrance here is the Polo that ran out of fuel. It's just been dragged down the back here. But, Greg, I'm hearing anger race cars. They're not racing again because I see the pace car. His lights are off. So, right, let's just turn around. We got the 333. He's in. Franco Di Matteo, we'll go back and talk to him just now. We know who's driving because we'll call him Little James for now. Little James Forbes. Driver change. The fuel is going in. Got a little thermos flask of refreshment. Fritz Kleinans is in the car.
Schumacher's on the fire hydrant.
He's a big unit,
left.
and it takes time to get him in. While we're here, let's just quickly turn just a little bit right there, Ruan. Just go right there. And this is the car that was leading Class B by, they say, 9 laps. Not sure what that is now and what penalty they'll get for having caused the yellow, the safety car, getting towed in when they lose a lot of time for that. And you can see Kera's a lot smaller than Trevor, so they're refueling that. These guys have taken the conservative route on the refueling side, and you'll see they're using just a normal standard trigger. The advantage of that, Greg, I'll be with you now, the advantage of that is that it shoves the fuel down the neck and allows the air to come out. Yeah, Greg?
So you've got Jared Evans now sitting in joint 9th place on
Let's
exactly the same time as Byron Oliver. And Cara Hill's dropped down to 12th place. So we're looking at probably a lap and a half that she's lost there because of this.
Let's have a quick talk there. Cara, you were leading the class and you just pushed it just a little bit.
Yeah, the fuel kind of went out. I wanted to come in during the safety car, but we wanted to keep pushing. But it is what it is.
Come with me, away from these guys who are giving you a hard time. And I understand that, but you know what? You led this race. I think you did absolutely brilliantly. The emotions are high. Yeah. Forget about them having a rev at you. I think you did magnificently. Was it fun?
Yeah, it was really fun. I kept asking Trevor when I must come.
She's lost 5 laps.
In. He kept telling me different times, and I was just like, and I saw the sign, and I was just like, it says an hour, and you're saying I'm doing like an hour and a half, and he's like making me seem like I'm doing more. So
this is your first endurance race, and second,
but proper.
Yeah, I mean first proper one. And there's a lot more to the action than just some of the sprint races that you normally, and it's part of the learning curve, the clarity of communication.
Yeah, I kept shouting at him, I'm not gonna lie, because with the earbuds, I don't think that like he can hear me, so I'm like shouting and shouting, and he's like, calm down. I'm just like, yeah, but I don't know if you can hear me. And then there's the one corner where I can't hear him at all, and that's when he kept talking to me. I was just like, wait until the back straights. And we had a strategy, but it didn't work out as well. So.
But I think some of the other cars that you're racing against have also had a couple of issues. So it's not that much of a train smash, is it?
No, not really. It's just irritating that I ran out of fuel. And I was coming back, but there wasn't as much as what I thought there was, so I had to stop somewhere.
Many drivers. Ayrton Senna, Lewis Hamilton, my favourite, Kimi Raikkonen has even run out of fuel. Yeah. So you join an exclusive club. Don't beat yourself down on this. I think it's magnificent. Welcome to the Runner Out of Fuel Club.
Yeah, thank you. But Trevor's going to go out and do his best now. We're just here for fun, like we said. But the guys put massive pressure on you. I kept asking Trevor, where's the Honda, where's the Alpha? Like, let me know where they are. And I had a lot of pressure at the starts from the Honda, I think.
Yeah, but that's part of the racing. See, the guys are changing tyres now. Did you find the tyres going off quite a lot during the race?
Yeah, I think 5 laps before the safety car came out, I went on the radio and I said to Trevor that I can't get through the corners now, like the sliding. And he's like, okay, just 10 more minutes, and then we'll more worried about the tyres than the fuel. Yeah. But we were still checking the fuel as we're going, but we don't know how much we've used it yet. Yeah. So now we know.
Okay, well, at least, it's part of that whole learning curve. Kara, go and sit in a quiet corner and enjoy the success. You led it. I think that you did a magnificent job. Don't let these angry guys let their emotions dampen your smile.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun though. Also, but now I have to go on the radio with Trevor.
Awesome. Yeah. And now you can tell him.
Yeah, I can tell him when to come in. Strategy now.
Good stuff. Thanks, Karen. Good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Shame. I really feel for. All right, guys, I do know. I am told, the voices in my head tell me that the pace car's about to come in. It is. It's a go. Go. It's green. So, Greg, if you've got some action, let's just have before we come to you, Greg, we're going to quickly talk to Trevor. Trevor, the plan is just to pin it from now on.
Yeah, that's the plan. I know the car's got good pace. Just see if we can get some. We've lost a lot now, so let's see what I can make up.
Awesome. Good luck. Thanks for chatting.
5
They've
laps.
lost about 6 laps. 5 laps. So, there's a problem. We know there's a problem because we hear the sound of a beating hammer. And we know that the size of the problem is proportional to the size of the hammer. It was just a small hammer, so therefore it was just a small problem. These are the tires that have come off. We know this because they're hot, and you can see normally this eating away here. It's not quite graining, but it's more like the track has hacked away at the tire and moved it out. And these, you can see the feathers on here, very aggressive wear on the tires. It's brutal, absolutely brutal on tires. Right, so summary, they've lost a lot of laps. I don't know where they are at the moment relative to the Honda. That is the race, the VW versus the Honda. The Alpha's a couple of laps further down. And now, the other thing when you run out of fuel is that the fuel system sits with a lot of air in it. And can they bleed it? Can they get it sorted out? They've got to push. That clacking sound that you heard there, that was the limited slip diff plates just bouncing through. Right, so let's just hear from Francois. Francois, confirm for me that's a drive-through penalty for push.
Drive-through penalty for push start, yes.
All right, and in what window does he have to serve it?
He has 4 laps in which to do it.
And if he doesn't, then he gets another drive-through?
No, then he gets a black flag and he puts the car on the trailer and he goes home.
Okay.
It's black flag, that's the rule, unfortunately.
Awesome. Right, we're going to come back into the sun and into the silver Starship with the pilot of the Starship, Greg Maloney, from the pit lane. Greg, tell us what's happening.
Yeah, well, welcome back. It's been a while since we've been back here, but there hasn't been much because of being that safety car issue due to the fact that we had Cora Hill stuck out there for a while, but you can see her back and Trevor Bland in the car and on track as well. Craig Jarvis still maintains the lead ahead of the hard-charging Ligier of Nick Adcock. It's Cora Hill who's now dropped down, what are we looking at? It's about 8 laps to Class B on Jared Evans' car. So she's lost 8 laps in the process of having to get the car recovered from track there, Gary.
That's actually Trevor Bland that's in the car now.
Yeah.
So that's a bit and it's sad, but I see that the Alpha that lost the wheel, I saw that coming into the back of the pits, so maybe they can get that car sorted. Probably not for this race, but maybe for race 6.
Yeah, for round 6 of this championship starting at 2:30 this afternoon. If you just joined us here on our live feed on RaceDay TV as well as on ILEB and the South African Endurance Championship Facebook pages, a big welcome to everybody. We're here in Phakisa at the Phakisa Freeway just outside of Welkom in the Free State, South Africa. So if you're watching worldwide, that's where we currently are, in the central state of South Africa. And of course, the championship is up for grabs here today. Craig Jarvis is doing everything right at this point. Currently lapping in the 136 or so. He's starting to up the pace ever so slightly. That's because the fuel load is certainly coming down on that car. He's probably also got a bit of clean air out there for the first time because he was the first car to cross the line when the safety car pulled in. So he had a long gap of a lap and a half, I would say, before he catches any traffic. Adcock currently doing 48, so just taking it easy, along with Fritz Kleinans also in the 48s, and 47s coming out of Sartori. So the 3 Ligier is sitting in 2nd, 3rd and 4th place, currently just lapping in very similar lap times. Andrew Horn, 52-1s, he sits in 5th place at the moment, leading Class V. And then it's Dean Fenter who's on his tail, trying to close down that gap. Dean Wilson, his closest rival in the championship, not only for Class V, but also for the Endurance Championship, the Performance of Index in the Endurance Championship, is sitting in 7th place, and he's just ahead of Jared Evans, Class B's leader in the Honda, who's now, of course, in the car ahead of the duties that were done earlier on by Dane Angel. Byron Oliver is sitting in 9th. He's, of course, sitting in 4th place in Class V. Trevor Graham looking to continue out there in the good ways that Brian Martin did earlier on in the Backdraft Cobra. And, of course, you heard from him in the interview. If you didn't, welcome back. This is just news coming in that if Trevor Graham and Brian Martin finish round 5 and complete the race, they literally take the GT5 championship after round number 5. They don't even have to race the final race. But we did hear from Brian that there's a possibility of a bit of development and maybe a bit of fun and games to be had with that Backdraft Cobra, where they're going to try and push it a little bit harder to see how things will go for 2020 and possible development on that car for 2020, along with the one, of course, that is being piloted not today, but would normally be piloted by Tony Martin and Mike McLaughlin. They are looking to develop some turbo cars to run at the front end and possibly give the big cars a run for their money.
It's going to be an interesting season next year. There's a plan afoot, and maybe going into the second one, or before we get into the second one, Colin will be having a chat with Tony Martin about the plans for next year. Some exciting stuff happening in that backdraft stable, and going to be looking forward to it. So nice things happening over there, and a bit of international stuff. They've just had qualifying for the DTMs. And the South African boys, Christopher Aberdeen went to put it P4, and young Sheldon van der Linde was P9 in qualifying for race 1 of the DTM. So that's a bit of the interesting stuff. Also, we do have another South African team playing on the international market this weekend, and that's in the Rally du Maroc, where we have Toyota Gazoo racing over there with Janelle de Villiers, etc., all having a good time. So when we get some of that information, we'll try and feed it to you as well. But in the meantime, back to what's happening here at Phakisa.
Also sticking with international before we get back there, of course, just running through a couple of things that have happened out in terms of international duties for our guys. Moto 2, it looks like Marini was leading out the Moto 2 in terms of qualifying within a second, so it looks like he might be the man to beat tomorrow in Thailand. I'm not quite sure where it ended up for Brad. I'm just going to try and pick up on Brad Binder's post and see if we can find out where it ended up for him. It doesn't look like Darren was in the top 3 either in Moto 3. So we'll wait and see what the qualifying for those guys are. But believe it or not, it is Moto 3. It actually went to Vietti, the Sky and Valentino Rossi VR46 rider, taking his maiden pole position for tomorrow. So Vietti from the Sky team there, from Valentino Rossi's stable, has taken the pole position for Moto 3. And then
in Moto 2, Brad went unfortunately down a little bit. He's in P12.
Marquez crashes out on a potential pole lap, so he had a big crash in Q2. So did Rossi. So did Quartararo. So all of the top riders are pushing a little bit too hard in the qualifying.
That's right.
Looking at the way things ended up, though, Quartararo did eventually take the pole position and, of course, finished up at the front end. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that pans out for tomorrow. But, of course, we've got lots of race action still to happen here today. But just to confirm, it's Quartararo from Vinales and Marquez, your top 3 in qualifying for MotoGP tomorrow. But Colin's got some news down in pit lane.
Well, it's never nice to be standing next to a race car while the race is going on just over there down the straight. This is the Keegan Ward, Theo van Vieren Alpha. If these guys didn't have bad luck, they would have no luck at all. And they thought that it was the shamrock, the lucky cloverleaf that was missing, whether it's a shamrock, I don't know, but the green leaf, the cloverleaf that was missing from the car. They penned one in and were confident before the race that their luck was back. The front is off. Let me show you the reason why the front is off. And here you have the innards of a gearbox, and they're furiously busy trying to rebuild the gearbox for the round number 6. So there's a problem on the inside of the gearbox. It broke its guts, and you can see all the bits and pieces. Quick gearbox rebuild in the pits, as one does on a race day. The smell of gearbox oil is absolutely horrible. It is amongst, and there's no ways I'm tasting it. Don't even try. The voices in my head are saying, go taste it, go taste it. That's not going to happen at all. So great disappointment for the Theo van Vieren car. The other Alpha is also parked. They've had a couple of issues. Right next to us over here, we've got Stu White waiting to take over a brand new set of rubber, Stewie White, a nice warm track. How's that lap record? You're going to pin it and have a go and get it?
No, I'm not going to. Not in this race. The only reason we're changing tires to make it to the end of the race. We're not sure we'll make it on one set, but no, it's just managing the race to the end now.
Tell us about now that you've got your proper driver's license. They've taken the L off the car, so you don't have to have learner driver on it anymore on a road car. But your racing car, you're definitely not a learner. Congrats on your driver's license. What does it feel like to be a proper road driver now?
Yeah, thank you very much. It helps a little bit more to get around, but in the big picture, it probably doesn't make such a big difference.
How many more laps before he comes in?
If there's a safety car, it will be now. Otherwise, in about 5 or 6 minutes.
But always a professional driver that you are, that You,
we got a car.
professional driver, you're always ready. You mentioned the safety car. What's this? Do you think there could be one?
Oh, you never know. So if we're in the pit window, we always stand ready because we know from now on we can make it to the end of the race with the fuel we're going to put in. So that's why I'm ready and waiting.
Well, just as well you're ready, because I'm told that there's sources say, Stu, that there's a car being towed and there may well be a safety car.
Yeah, I just saw it going down the back straight on the oval, and usually that's quite dangerous, and they put a safety car out for that. So yeah, it might be one coming soon, so I'll stand ready and see what happens.
All right, and you've got the distinction of having a lap record at a number of circuits all around the country. It's going to be a long time next year when you bring this car back to Welkom. You want to try and get the lap record this year sometime. Are you going to do it in the second race?
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the second race, but for now I'm just going to focus on the first one.
Yeah, go focus. Always a good idea to focus. He's off and getting focused. There's definitely some action coming. Let's get out of the way here, because when the action starts, it will be fast and furious as they bring the car in. We expect the car in now, and I'm also trying to see whether we can have a word with Theo van Vieren, driver of the Alpha with its broken gearbox. The other car that's getting ready for its stop is the Adcock Michael Jensen car, where we actually see their tires are ready and Michael Jensen is standing by ready also, just in case there is a safety car. Things are starting to get, as we wait, and there's tension down here while they wait for the car to come in. Yeah, there he goes, down the back straight over there. Sounds like he's actually just cruising, but that car's got a lovely burbling sound as he goes down. So there's probably, I'd imagine, about 15, 16 seconds as he comes in. The Honda leading Class B has just gone past us, and just noticing he's got a lot of lift and coast going into turn one, gently on the brakes and trying to minimize lateral load, as Benoit was saying, from a life point of view. When the 8-call car comes in, it looks like they're definitely also going to put new tires. Right, coming down the pit lane is the Maui Motorhomes Janetta G57. Craig Jarvis in the car, the owner in the car at the moment, brings it in, stops on his marks, and the wet towel goes on. They will got sprayed by fuel. That is why we wear a fireproof overall supplied by ATS. So this here is the fuel in over there and the vapor out here, and you can hear the air. It's actually whistling. Ruan, I'm not sure if you can see the fumes. There's proper fumes here. It's vicious, the stuff that's coming out of here. The explosion was the air coming out of the jacks. You happy with the stop so far, Francois?
2 fuel spills.
What does that mean?
I'll have to have a discussion with the team manager. Most probably going to end up in a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, you're not allowed to spill fuel. And brand new tires going on. Tires coming off don't look too bad. These are while they're busy doing that stop, you see over here, these are the marbles and the bits of rubber that it's picked up. And again, we're seeing these marks over here, the viciousness of the track as it just rips these tires apart. Not too badly worn. These are the wear indicators on the outside and the inside of the tires. Right, car started. Off he goes. Stewie White in the car. Lots of... And if Ruan comes back to me over here, you can see this is some of the brake dust that has come off the car, all on the inside of the tires. Let's just see. Francois says there was a fuel stop. What's the story, Francois?
We've issued a drive-through penalty for the fuel spillage.
But Francois, that was drops.
You can't be half pregnant, Colin. I mean, we say no fuel spill, but it's spilled on the 2 sides. There were 2 spills on the side, so...
Okay, so is it, and if there's only fuel on one side, then it
a person looks at it and tries to be as reasonable as possible. Okay, the bottom line is when the bottle went on, it sprayed fuel, it sprayed it in your direction, and then on the other side, when the guys had when the hose came off, there was fuel splashing everywhere, which is dangerous. The guys must be careful, and that's the only reason we.
But Francois, as Mario says, I know nothing.
My English are not very good. Only been in this country 20 years.
I know nothing. Right, one of the other guys has come in, and that is one of the Nashes. We're not going to walk down there because our link is going to give us some issues. So let's just see. Our guys are chilled out. I mean, properly chilled out. Guys, is this a race or are we just like standing around having a good time?
I thought this was the beach.
Here are. Some say. Rico, you guys seem to have this under control.
We're taking it slow and steady. We're here to win the championship, not to win the race. And we will ensure that we go as smooth as possible and diligently. That's what it's all about.
And it's quite a discipline to go fast or go at a pace and maintain that pace. And even from a pit stop point of view, while you want to do the fastest pit stop in the world ever, you've got to make sure that you hit all your marks.
100%. You know, when the car comes in, your adrenaline starts pumping. And the faster that car comes in, the faster you think you must go. So you've actually got to hold yourself back and just concentrate on the job in hand.
I would, Greg, I believe you got a question for us.
Yeah, the thing is that they've got to take into account that Nick is now leading the race. So how does that change the strategy? If Nick's now leading the race with Stuart White getting that drive-through penalty, does that change their strategy? Do they now try and push and get a bit of a lead and control it from there? Or they're going to just maintain their current strategy they just spoke to you about?
Interesting question from Greg. They've issued a drive-through penalty to the Janetta for fuel spillage, which would then put Nick in the lead. Does that change how you guys approach it?
Not at all. We have a single-minded strategy for this race, which we will maintain, irrespective of what happens out on any other cars on the circuit.
Until it changes?
Correct.
Right. How many more laps before he comes in?
We'll analyze and see if we get a safety car, we'll bring him in immediately. Otherwise, we'll get control to tell us from the pit wall.
Could you ask Jesse to do his temperature trick for us again?
I can, but I don't know if he wants to be a film star twice in a day.
This is Jesse Huggett, hell driver, top tuner from Cape Town, a man of huge reputation in South African motorsport, a guy who's contributed. Here comes a Janetta for its drive-through. Let's just run. Can you show us this car? Here he comes. That's what 60 k's an hour looks like from the pit lane. Jesse has gone to get his temperature teller, and we shall know. Jesse, the film star. Let's walk with him as he goes. Jesse, the film star. No, you're not a disaster. Come and show us the temperature. Right, here we go. The temperature in the pit lane. We've got the pit temperature. There we go. No, show the camera. There we go. 30, 37. Wow, 38. Keep it there, Jesse. Keep it there. Right, it looks like it is 38 degrees centigrade. Now, you've got a Dane, and Danes are normally chilled as anything. Can you give us a temperature of Michael Jensen? How do we take a normal temperature? I prefer
about 32.
There's smoke coming out of there.
It should. I'm led to believe in small children and little animals. We use the rectal method. Can you do it for us?
I'm normally 32 degrees.
He's 32 degrees, he said. He's chilled. He's another ice man. A hot man is Greg in his silver Starship. Go to you, Greg.
Coley, thanks for that, bud. Yeah, we're looking at Nick Adcock and Jensen now leading things out, but that will probably change up now when they come in for their scheduled pit stop. Stuart White hasn't actually lost the lap that is shown on our timing monitor, and maybe we can get that graphic onto the screen as well, just to run through how things are standing. So as I said, Nick Adcock at the moment leading by a lap, but with them standing by for a pit stop means that Stuart White in that Maui Homes Janetta G57 will take the lead again. Currently lapping in the 149s, just taking it easy, but there's a bit of traffic he's got to deal with at this stage. The one thing we also need to watch out for, of course, talking about temperatures, is our ambient temperature is close to the 30 degrees Celsius mark. We're at 29 degrees Celsius here. You've just seen 38 degrees Celsius track temperatures. Inside closed cockpits, it's going to be getting close to probably the 40 degrees Celsius mark if you're in a saloon car. And even if you're in an open cockpit, you're still going to start to feel the effects of the day here with the sort of early spring here in South Africa. If you've just joined us on the World Wide Web and watching us via RaceDay TV, there's a bit of white smoke coming out of one of the Nash Sports heading down towards turn 2. Definitely an issue there. That could possibly be a situation that requires safety car. There's a lot more smoke coming out of that car than what should be. And if the COC can hear me, he can probably come and have a look at that right now. But there's definitely a big issue on one of the Nash Sports as it heads down into turn 2 and down towards the toe of the boot. The Mini going through, shot past the mine tower there. And just looking to see whether that car pulled off or not. I think it might have. If we just go back to no, there he goes. He's just circulating very slowly. Hopefully not dropping any oil or liquids onto the circuit, because that'll be a major concern with the cars that are coming up behind after a long stint with big white smoke coming out of that car. So I'm not sure if that's going to be deemed as the safest way to get back into pit lane. But if he doesn't get into a safe situation soon, it could be dropping some liquids or fuel or even oil out of that car, and definitely turning the circuit into a little bit more dangerous considering the heat of the day. He hasn't come past the Coke bottle just yet. He's about to. There it is. Lots of white smoke out of that Nash. The second Nash coming up alongside and going to go flying past. But still lots of white smoke coming out of that car now. I don't know if that's going to be an issue that we need to watch out for. Maybe Colin can check if it does make it all the way back around in the pit lane. But right now, just to run back on what we've seen, Adcock in the lead, Stuart White in second, but Adcock still to pit. Once Adcock hands over to Jensen, Stuart White should take the lead of that race again. Fritz Kleinon sitting in third place at the moment, 2 laps down on the leaders. And then Romano Satori in 4th place, sitting also another 3 laps down. Romano Satori is followed very closely by Dean Fenter. I think there's a very good possibility. No, Howard Blake is there. Howard Blake into second in Class V's behind Dean Fenter. Then Dean Wilson in the Sports 2000 is in 7th, 3rd place in Class V. Jared Evans still maintaining the lead in Class B in the Honda. Byron Oliver is now in 9th and 4th place in the Class V's. And then it's Trevor Graham leading out GT5. And as I said earlier on, if GT5 is finished by Trevor Graham and Brian Martin today, they will take the championship overall for GT5s for 2019. So that's how things stand in the top 10 as you come back to us. And I'm going to just keep an eye out on the return of that Nash. It should be heading down the back straight and probably towards turn 6 and 7 at this point. And if it does go into pit lane, we'll just keep an eye on the reaction in pit lane as to see whether or not there is oil coming out of the back of that car. If there is oil coming out of the back of that car has literally run from turn 2 the entire circuit with big white smoke coming out of the back of it. So very good possibility that whoever's driving that car could be in some big trouble with the authorities and officials here if there is a bit of a problem. Sounds like the car might have come to a stop somewhere on track as well. We'll wait and see if that's the case and if they're going to have to get a safety car out there to get that car recovered. All right, so there's a possibility they're going to try and recover that car before they get to the back straight. So it's probably stuck there between Unchini 1 and Unchini 2. It's a white Nash that we're looking for there, possibly. And I think that white Nash is going to be in a bit of trouble. Looking at progress further down, though. I'm just going to quickly go to my screen here. Progress further down out of the top 10. Cara Hill, which is now piloted, of course, by Trevor Bland, has made up 2 laps there and closing in on Gavin Rook. Graham Foss is down in 13th place. Budnick has made a massive recovery. He's actually overtaken Keegan Ward, who is now stuck in pit lane. Paul Hill out of this one already, and Harry Arangis, as we saw, they were only piloting there for, of course, the hour endurance race. So Paul Hill took that one from Harry Arangis. But Keegan Ward out now and in pit lane trying to fix a gearbox with Theo van Vuren as his teammate. They'll finish in 15th place. Whether or not they'll get classified, we'll have to wait and see how many laps are completed by the end of the 3-hour mark. And we're into the last hour now with 52 minutes still to go. So 52 minutes still to go. We've got Trevor Frost in the Strocam Mining Ligier out at 25 minutes of racing. 27 minutes of racing, we saw the Trutter and Lotte BMW, the one that's powered by a Toyota engine. They were out at 27 minutes. Then at about an hour and a half, the Alpha of Ladner and McLaughlin came to a close. And then just before the 2-hour mark, the second Alpha unfortunately had to come into pit lane with a broken gearbox, and that, of course, was piloted by Keegan Ward and Theo van Vuren. Collins down in pit lane. Let's see what's happening down there with a bit of action in the pit lane, and there's still lots of white smoke coming out of the cars down at Geelkop.
Right, we found news of the Ganesh that's going a little bit slowly. What's the story?
Raymond phoned me from the bottom corner and said when he came around the corner, the left back suspensions collapsed, and he's going very slowly to try and get back to the pit.
Okay, so our news is that he stopped close to the Coke bottle as the flatbed does a lap of the NASCAR track to go and fetch him.
Hopefully he'll bring him back and we'll be back the next race.
Awesome stuff. Good luck with that.
Thanks, eh?
And the smallest man in the race, they call him Shorty, but he's fast. James Forbes.
What an introduction.
James, now I know how you feel, being as tall as you are. How did your stint go?
Without drama. The strategy played out. It might have been, dare I say, overly conservative. So our plan was to preserve the tyres, look after them as well as best we could. And even though they certainly were starting to deteriorate, in truth, there was a lot more life left in them than I expected at the end of my session. So I think it gives me carte blanche to go push a little bit harder in the next race. But so far, we're sitting third reasonably comfortably. As we know, there's a lot can happen in the final 30 minutes, so let's see.
So coulda, woulda, shoulda gone faster?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but anyway, as you know, we're going to dust ourselves down and do it all over again.
And if it had been on the other foot, if you'd gone too fast, then you would have had a lot more, it would have worn stuff out, and that wouldn't have been so good.
Absolutely. Look, there's no doubt, as we said earlier, that we've got to finish this race and hopefully in a good position. Otherwise, the second race is meaningless. So if we carry on as we are, we know that we are still in the running for a good result overall on the day, if we in the second race, and then we can push and have a fun end to the season. But I think the championship is pretty much out of our grasp. So anyway,
but you keep going and you keep smiling.
We keep going, we keep smiling, and we keep coming back. Yeah.
And for now, he's walking tall.
Nice to lord it over you.
James, thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Right, we got some other news. Talking of winning, they're back. We knew they were going to come in the pits. They didn't get the yellow flag and safety car that they wanted. And this is the aid call car that Nick Adcock is jumping out. We know it's Nick because he's got the absolutely lime green boots. He bolts and the fuel is going on. I'll open it now. What they've got to do is they've got to watch for no fuel spillage, because fuel spillage is not so lacquer. Wheels on. We'll go and have a look at the tyres. They're just doing tyres. Why aren't they doing fuel? And that's a little bit strange. I heard a bit of a rough car going down the end there. Yes, it just looks like tyres and driver. And no, it's not fuel. They did fuel a little bit earlier when they had, as Benoit said, their free pit stop. Right, Jensen in the car. Off he goes. Nick Adcock has just got his helmet off, and let's see if we can get in there and have a quick word with him while he's still all sweaty. Nice to get the emotions of the driver while they're still there. Nick, that was an interesting stint.
It was, what do they say, endurance, one has to endure, so we endured. It was a long stint.
Yeah.
2 hours 15. We had a couple of safety cars. It's hot out there. Tyre wear, as I said before, is the issue. We're driving to the tyres, not the pace of the car. So, yeah, well, I didn't expect to be in such a good position vis-a-vis the Ginetta, but we're obviously in a clear second. So, yeah, see what Michael can do. It's all looking good.
My sources tell me that you guys are actually in the lead at the moment, and the Ginetta is hunting you down after they had a one-lap. The voices are telling me you're 1 minute 15 seconds ahead of the Ligier at the moment.
Oh, well, it's even better news.
Lovely to bring you good news for a change. Nick, you're an international race driver of note. Done the LMP3 races. Conditions in Europe versus conditions in South Africa. Give us a comparison.
Well, it's colder in Europe normally. But yeah, I mean, the level is a lot higher. The cost is an awful lot higher. But this is still fantastic bang for the buck. Endurance race in South Africa is the place to be, quite frankly. It's brilliant out there.
And it's a wonderful, this track, even though it is hard on the tyres. It's brought alive a wonderful chess match of driving two tires and having the discipline for the tires and the fuel versus what the other guys are doing. And managing the discipline in the car, that must be quite an issue.
I could have pushed more earlier, but I knew I couldn't start scrubbing the fronts. So it's how much tyre you're going to have left at the end. So we pushed it right to the end. I think on that in-lap I'd actually got a puncture on the front right. We'll have a look now. Put your camera on it in a minute. You'll probably see it's down to the canvas.
Well, we'll go right and have a look. Thanks, Nick. Good luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you.
Always great chatting to a
Colin.
guy who, let's see if we can find the front left. Where's Jesse Huggett, our movie star? Jesse, show us the front left. Right, here we got the front left. So, no, we want to see all these other interesting bits and pieces. Right, here, Nicholas, this is a flat spot. What do you say about that?
Is that my tyre?
Looks like the ABS wasn't working.
Is there only one flat spot?
Well, it looks like that's a multiple flat spot.
I picked a flat spot going up into turn 3, going a bit too greedy on the brake. But there wasn't a lot left of the tyre. If you can find a wear guide, you'd be lucky. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing left of this thing. So, we drove to the tyres. We drove to the maximum of the tyres.
Yeah, well done. And you used them all up.
Yes, they're going in the bin now.
Good stuff. Right. We've often spoken about what a flat spot does to a tyre, and essentially the tyre slides across the surface of the tar, and the tar just abrades it out completely, and this has gone down to... When they make these tyres, it's a radial, and the radial means that the cords run radially around the tyre, and they put a cover layer over the steel belts which run at various angles, and it's gone down to the cover layer. Just underneath here, you'll find the steel belt. But Greg had some news on the slow car, and we had a slow car, we thought it was suspension. Greg, you've got the story.
Yeah, Carlo, it's actually Byron Oliver's car that went down in that previous lap that we were watching. And we thought there might be some fuel or some oil that's coming out of the back of the car. The white smoke was actually body rub up against the body of the car. The wheel coming loose and almost coming off is the issue that they slowed down and caused all that big white smoke as it was rubbing up and the abrasion up against that. Stuart White just crossing the line now has also just taken the lead over Michael Jensen, who was caught and passed on that previous lap, I beg your pardon. He's now got about a 11-second lead over the Jensen and Adcock car. But as you heard from Nick, they're not really pushing as hard as what they'd like to in terms of the ability of the car. They've got to run to what the ability of those tyres are. They're running Michelins. You've got Pirelli's on the lead car. So a bit of a battle of the manufacturers in terms of rubber availability out there as well. And there you can see the lead car closing in on Jared Evans. Behind that is Kish Patamba, I think being piloted at this stage by Chris Budnick in that Castrol Mini. But just going back to that car of Byron Oliver's, they are going to get it back in the pit lane, hopefully get it sorted and probably not get it back out in time for the end of this race, but definitely in time for the start of the next one. Remember, this is a 2-3 hour format that we're running today. We're at 43 minutes to go in the first 3 hour race, round 5, and then at Topos 2 this afternoon in the heat of the day. And when I'm talking about the heat of the day, we're now into the 31 degrees Celsius mark here at Phakisa Freeway. Track temperatures probably up to the 40 degrees Celsius. In-car temperatures for the closed cockpits will be close to the 45 degree mark. If you're racing in an open cockpit, you'll be feeling the effects of probably 35 to 40 degrees Celsius inside that cockpit, even though it is an open cockpit. So definitely something that's going to take its toll into the closing stages in the next 40 odds or minutes, and of course also into the start of the next 3 hour stint later on this afternoon. So that's how things stand at this stage. Stuart White leading things out over Michael Jensen. Fritz Kleinhan still in third place with Romano Sotori in fourth. Those 4 cars are just circulating to get the job done. I think the battle is actually going to happen in the second race of the day here in round 6 of this championship. It's not going to be fought out as hard as what it is, or not being done at the moment. They're just literally circulating. It's a game of survival out there. They don't want to go and break cars. They just want to make sure that they get to the end of this first 3 hour and then change the whole strategy as to how the cars have worked, what the fuel's been like in these heated conditions, how the tyres have performed. Can they push them a little bit longer? I don't think the 8-call 24/7 car can do much more than what they've done. And even with the ability of Nick Adcock and Michael Jensen as very evenly matched drivers in their abilities as racing car drivers, they're not going to be able to push the car too much longer than what Nick did there in that first stint of 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I would say they'd probably need to aim for about 2 hours or maybe even a 1:45 each to get through and not have any issues. Stu White, even though he's out there, we were expecting him to possibly go and put in a hot lap. You heard from him in pit lane down there with Collins saying that they're not going to try and push for the hot lap in this one. They might do it in the start of race number 2 later on today and round 6 of the championship, and maybe look to see if he can go and do the unthinkable, and that's break lap record. He's pretty much on it. The best lap time we saw out of him was a 36.8, but he's now eased off down into the 46.8, so he's not quite on he needs about another second there to break that lap record and see how things change up. So that's how things go at this stage. There you go, confirmation of the results as they stand right now. Stuart White ahead of Michael Jensen and Fritz Kleinans, Romano Sartori. Those guys within 3 laps of each other. A further 3 laps down is Dean Fenter leading Class V ahead of Howard Blake, Dean Wilson. Class B down in 8th place is Jared Evans, and then of course is Trevor Graham leading the GT5s. Byron Oliver, of course, is car 15. He is now up into 10th place. So a little bit of fun and games happening out there, and some work to be done now for that team to get that car sorted out and hopefully keep them, beg your pardon, within the hunt for the top 10, because it's not going to be easy, that is for sure. But as you can see, and if you have been watching throughout the race here, and if you've been watching via our RaceDay TV link as well as ILEB and South African Endurance Facebook pages, it's a race of strategy here. Everybody is not willing to show their cards just yet. They're all circulating. They're all going at about between 75 and 85% of what the car's capabilities actually are, because of the fact that it's so hot out there, because of the fact that there are championships up for grabs, and they don't want to go and risk anything at this stage. Maybe the risks will come in race 2 later on this afternoon. Maybe there'll be a bit of a change in strategy for some of the teams to see if they can possibly upset the apple cart. But the way that Jensen and Adcock are going about it, doesn't look like there's going to be any issues for them, and they look like they might have a chance here. There you go on the flatbed. We can see the 15 car there of Mr. Oliver. So Byron Oliver, unfortunately, having a problem there out on track, and looks like he's going to have to get that car back in. Fortunately, they've got it onto the flatbed, and he'll be able to get it back into pit lane there. So John and Byron, we've got some work to do. Looks like the Nash team have got a bit of work to do as well. I can see, is that a Ferrari going to be rolling out there as well into pit lane? I'm not quite sure what Ferrari that is. But as we get into the last 38 minutes to go of this race, there on the back banking, you can actually see that flatbed making its way all the way around the banking. It actually makes its way down the little escape road just in the front of the screen here. You've got that building with a blue roof and then a road, and then there's like a little separate road on the side of the circuit. That's where that flatbed will make its way past and all the way back into pit lane to get it back to the Nash Sport guys to get that car sorted. As I said, with 38 minutes to go, don't think they're going to have enough time to get it fixed for this one, but they certainly will have enough time to get it fixed and back on track for race number 6 of this championship, which starts at 2:30. Just getting a bit of feedback as well from a couple of WhatsApps that are coming through our race control here. Looks like everybody's happy with the feed that's going out there, so just feedback for our guys down there as well. Just doing a great job, guys. Thanks so much. I know there were a couple of little issues with the links and stuff, but it looks like everything is now working perfectly, and people are saying that they're getting all the links and getting all the feed that's required, so good job to our team. Flatbed now making its way back into pit lane. That'll just get into the pit lane and back to the Nash Sport boys to get that all sorted out. So that's how we stand at this stage with about 37 and a half minutes to go. Still got another 3 hours of racing from 2:30 this afternoon to take us through to the end of this South African Endurance Championship. And the Mopar South African Endurance Championship has been pretty spectacular. We've had some great battles, and what we've seen in the slightly longer versions of these races is that they have got to the point where even the last couple of laps have come down to the wire, and there's been a bit of a sprint to the line for the wins that have been taken by cars. Most consistent drivers at this stage have been Adcock and Jensen. That's why they led the championship coming into this round. But we also got to take into account that there is a performance of index championship as well, and how that works is your fastest lap time that you set and how many times you can stay within that fastest lap. The percentage of the laps that you complete within the same time as your fastest lap gives you that percentage, and of course that is all worked out mathematically at the end. At this stage, there's 3 cars in contention. One of them is car number 8, which is Andrew Horn and Howard Blake. The other one, of course, is Dean Wilson and Gerald Wright. And the third one which is down in 8th place at the moment. And in fact, all three of those cars are sitting 6th, 7th, and 8th place overall. Those are the three cars that are in 6th, 7th, and 8th place that are fighting for that Index of Performance Championship as well. The one car that I have missed, and I'm just trying to see where it ended up. I just want to go to my timing monitor here as well, just moving the mic at the same time. I'm going down there, Byron Oliver, Foss, Keegan Ward, Paul Hill. I don't know where the Temple cars got to, but I think Scott Temple might be sharing the car with Gavin Rook. So Gavin Rook, yeah, they're still in 10th place there. So that's where that car is. No, it's not. Gavin Rook is with Peter Schmidt-Loeffler. So I'm not quite sure which of those Nash Sports is now being piloted or partnered there by Scott Temple. Maybe it's Dean Fenter's car. I think it might be Dean Fenter's car. Yeah, the 67 car there. Dean Fenter. And it should say Steve Fenter, but I think it might be Scott Temple who's in that car today with Dean Fenter. We'll get confirmation of that one throughout the race afternoon, and getting into the closing stages now with 35 minutes to go. It's still a long way to go, and of course in conditions like we've got right now, we're sitting at 31 degrees Celsius out on track. It's probably about 30 degrees Celsius in our commentary booth with Andre de Kock starting to feel the heat of the day here as well. And of course, unfortunately, the air conditioner here in our track commentary position does not work. So it's getting pretty warm in this little studio. I'm going to actually ask Andre if he wouldn't mind just shooting over there to open the door for a little bit. Let's see if we can get a little bit of air in here as well, just to circulate a bit, because it's getting very warm in here, in fact. But great to have the man from the Citizen Motoring here. Of course, this is probably South Africa's and arguably South Africa's best motorsport journalist, giving you the most coverage out of everybody out there, that is for sure. Covering not only Endurance Championship, he covers Extreme Festival, he covers all the National Championship racing around the country, including motocross, and for the first time in the Citizen Motoring, Motocross Nationals have been covered for this year as well as the African Motocross of Nations from Zimbabwe. So he does a huge amount of work on the sidelines too, as do a lot of the journalists that are out there. The couple of media guys that are out there as well. I did see Paul Bedford out there. He's going to get a couple of shots, which I'm sure that Andre will be using at some point, possibly and Dave Ledbetter as well. Dave out there too. So Dave Ledbetter and Paul Bedford doing some photography work. And the other cool thing about that, of course, is that Andre will then be fighting between the two of them as to whose picture goes onto the front page of Citizen Motoring on Monday morning. So if it's Stuart White breaking the lap record, there's a good possibility it might be that Maui Holmes Ginetta car that might make the front page. But then, of course, it depends on who takes the championship. You don't want to take the limelight away from the championship winner either, and that could be Michael Jensen and Nick Adcock. Still two pretty cars that could end up on the front page there. Car coming into pit lane as well, by the looks of things. I think Connor might be down there, so we can pick up on some of the action that's happening down in pit lane. Right now, everybody is just literally circulating. There are no attacks. There are no big dices happening out there. It's pretty much plain sailing for everybody, and no risks being taken by anybody out on the black stuff. But maybe some issues down in pit lane we can pick up. Cole, you got some stuff for us down there?
Yeah, Trevor Graham came into the pits, basically arrived here, looked over at the guys and said, "Surprise, I'm here." We don't know why. There's something going on the left back. We'll have a bit of a good look. It looks like, there we go. We've got, there's nothing going on with that tyre because it's gone to, let's have a quick look here. Here's his surprise, completely worn out. And these are the bits and pieces. There's the tread, and then we were talking about the cover layer that's gone down. So there's bits of the fibers for the cover layer that holds it down, and this is the tread. That thing is worn out. It's finished. It's not delaminated. It's worn out. And when you get to the end of the thing, it starts falling apart. One more lap. Made that a blowout. Wise decision to come in very quickly, unannounced, big surprise, and off he'll go out. So let's have a quick word with Brian. Brian, that was a bit of a surprise, just sneaking in with tied tires.
No, it was a huge surprise, but we're trying these intermediates because we want to use them for the production series next year. But I think 3 hours is a bit long for them.
Now, your production series next year in these backdrafts, that's, you guys are building a whole lot of cars, and there's a fantastic offer on the table. Just tell us, they'll all be exactly the same specification of cars that are relatively quick?
All cars will be exactly like the red car. standard Lexus V8 4-litre engine, Dictator management system, BMW 5-speed diesel gearbox. Basically the same spec as that red car.
That car just runs for days, so we know it's got proven solid reliability now that you've settled on its final spec. And it's got decent lap times as well.
Yeah, it's not a bad package, you know, and Tony's giving them away for a year, so you can have a car on loan for a year. Drive it, see if you like it. If you like it, you can buy it at the end of the year. If you don't,
Sorry, just say that again. I thought that you said that you can loan a car at no cost of the loan, race it, and give it back.
That's correct. Tony has, in his way of giving back to motorsport, he's building 10 cars and he's going to give them out on loan to race teams that are capable of running them for a season in the endurance series. And there's no charge whatsoever. That's just the cost of running the car.
Okay, this is, I mean, I'm almost speechless, and you know, for me to be speechless is quite a thing. Brian, what makes these cars so reliable? And then I just want to try and process this offer of a proper race car at no charge for a year. So what makes them so reliable?
Colin, you've been in this game for a long time, and you know, production cars, when we race production cars, most cars finished unless they crashed because everything was standard. That's what we're doing with these cars. Everything will be the same. Everything will be standard. Standard Lexus engine, standard gearbox, standard diff, everything standard. And that makes it reliable.
And around this track, what was your qualifying lap time, just to give an idea of speed around Velkom?
Yeah, I went out yesterday morning on old tires and I did a 53.5. So if they can do 56, 57, all 10 cars, you know what a race we're going to have.
Be absolutely magnificent. Brian, thanks a lot for talking. We need to hunt Tony Martin down and have a chat with him, possibly in between the races, and spend some time. Yeah, but we want to spend a bit of time with him.
Yeah, he needs a bit of time to prepare his speech.
We'll help him.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brian. So there you have it. An offer from Backdraft Racing, and in particular Tony Martin, for a spec backdraft car that has got 300 and something horsepower. It's enough to get your attention. They're solidly reliable, as we've seen from this car running in on this track and temperature. And if you're good enough as a team, he'll lend you the car for a year and you can come racing. So all of you sitting at home, bitching and moaning that you haven't got anything to race, hook up with, give Tony Martin a call, send him a message, send a pigeon. It'll find its way to Backdraft Racing, or put a comment in the comment section on the Facebook page, and we'll put you in touch. He's a guy, he's wanting to give cars away to deserving teams, only if you can, not just to any Dick, Tom, or other Dick, but to people who can actually prepare and run cars. So give him a call. Greg, can you believe that? A car.
I can't. I'm actually just saying to myself, can they maybe organise one for us? So in between all the racing, we can maybe go and do like 1 lap each, or maybe 10 laps each, and get an indication as to how conditions actually are out there.
Greg, what if I'm getting you correctly? You're hinting at a media car.
I think a media car would be good, eh?
But who would we put in to drive it? Do you know any drivers who, I don't know, media people who may want to race?
There's one with a microphone in his hand and there's one with a microphone on his mouth right now.
Now,
so we'll have to have a chat to Tony Martin about that.
I saw the Alpha go out because there's an SC flag. The pace car went out. So there is a safety car flag. Let's quickly find out here from our speed cop why there is a safety car that's gone out. I'm sure he'll be able to tell us, be having a radio. The speed cop. This is how you normally like to find speed cops, sitting on his bum. Frankie, why is there a safety car?
All right, there's a car out on circuit that they're busy recovering, so they need to get it across the circuit. So we're putting out the safety car so they can safely bring it in.
Okay, so what car, what color, where, and how long is it going to take?
Okay, I'm not sure the control call. I'm still waiting for the final detail as to which car it is.
Awesome, yeah.
Colin, looks like it might
Greg's
be one of the
asking me a
Nashes.
question.
It might be one of the Nash's, Col. It's stuck there between, it's actually at the kink between 1 and 2. So they're just waiting for a clear track to get it across. The tow truck has come from the center of the circuit, from the exit point of the Coke bottle between the Coke bottle and Chini 1. So it'll be sort of, if you've ever, and I'm sure you've driven the circuit, Cole, you know that there's a short version of Phakisa.
Yeah.
So the short track of Phakisa, if you come out of turn 1, there's a
Car number
right-hander.
67.
It's car 67, which is because Dean Fenter and Scott Temple, and I think Dean Fenter's at
They
the
were
wheel of that
leading,
car
eh?
at the moment. They were leading Class V, yes they were. But just to give you an indication, it's at the right-hander if you take the short, or what they call the Indy circuit at Phakisa.
That was actually quite a challenging circuit in a Group N car, standard car, where you've just come through turn 1 and then got to slow it down and then turn 2. Brilliant circuit this for driving. But we've got Dean Garrett Wilson. Why are you walking around? Why aren't you standing at your pits looking after your car? The plastic pig, the yellow rocket.
Well, you can only get screwed that many times a day. This is the second time we're getting screwed by a safety car. As the safety car comes out of the pits, we're right behind the safety car. The people in front of us, they just gain a complete lap on us. We were 13 seconds behind the leader, catching him by 3 seconds the leader. And as you can see, we're stuck behind the safety car and they're gaining our lap on us. The second time in this race.
Go and sort it out with the officials. Okay, so the safety car, in theory, should pick up the leader of the race, and then everybody should line up behind the safety car. What Dean is saying to us now is that when the safety car picks up a car in a dice, they end up losing a whole lot of time, and losing time sucks because racing is all about time. So they've gone from 13 seconds behind, and they now basically have lost a whole lap. So Francois is not the right guy to talk to this lot. About this lot. Now, just from where we've come, we see a pit stop about to happen, so we're going to go back to where we come from. Francois is not the right guy to talk to about this. He's got to go to the clerk of the course and have a serious talk with the clerk of the course. The thing is, to rectify it is a bit of a problem. And how you rectify it, we don't know. Right, we've got the Mini coming into the pits. This is the Kishore Patamba Nick Budnick car. It's coming to the pits, and the plastic pig's still stuck behind the car. The only way to get it overturned is to get him to pass the car. Let's. He's got to go to the clerk of the course. Or let's just quickly talk to Frankie. I'm listening.
While you're walking across there, 24 minutes to go, Cole. 24 minutes to go.
Frankie, surely reason can prevail, and the guy in the safety car can see possibly the way of his error and wave the cars past, the crocodile past, until he picks up the leader.
Our rule is that the safety car picks up the first car that it picks up, and that's how we work.
Even though that rule might suck.
Well, sometimes rules suck in life, but the long and short of it is that is our rule, and that is the regulation by which we operate.
And does one periodically review one's rules so that one could come to possibly a better rule or a more fairer rule to everybody, to maybe pick the leader up?
Definitely. At all times, that's open to discussion, but that is the current rule, and it is something that we will discuss amongst ourselves going forward in terms of the rules.
Is there any discretion that an official can have and say, hey, I meant to pick up the leader, and wave the crocodile past?
No, he can't, because he has a rule that he has to operate by, and he is held to that rule. So if we can't have somebody making decisions, there's a rule, we stick to it, and in motorsport that is a standard operating procedure. However, if we do decide to change the rule, we change the rule.
How do we overturn? I mean, in racing there are a whole lot of cuck rules, and this, if I was in Dean's position, I wouldn't be as calm as he would be, and I would try and find a way.
We're talking.
I mean, Gerald. Yeah.
No, fair comment. I understand, but unfortunately, that's the rule, and we have to apply the rule as it is by the book.
Somebody in about 1944, when they caught a whole lot of people, he said, I was just following the rules and doing what my boss said.
Fair comment. But then, also the great Lord Winston Spencer Churchill also once said, over-regulation destroys all respect for the law. So somewhere along the line, you have to find a happy medium.
Yeah, I agree. So taking Churchill's thing with the over-regulation, we should take some regulations and summarily dismiss them.
That is an argument we can have, yes.
Right, there comes the plastic pig. And if I was him, right, let's go and see how the Murini really is. Come with us. They've gone back racing. And he's clearly, okay, there might be a bit of an issue with that car, but we don't know. So Francois makes a very interesting point about the rules and respecting the rules. But clearly when there's, and I speak only in my personal capacity, and in no way are my comments meant as representative of anybody else but myself. Right, that's my caveat and my arse covering. If a rule really, really, really sucks, you've got to change it, and you've got to change it quickly. And if it's blatantly unfair in a race, I think sanity and reasoning should prevail. But enough of that. Let's find out why they brought the car into the pits. We're right down the end of our range. Not sure whether we got the range going. Right, Dean is in the car at the moment. What's the story? What's happening?
One of the rose joints broke.
Right, one of the rose joints broke. So it is a bit of a moot point whether they should have let him go. But still, when you eat a turd, even though you spit it out, some taste of the turd still remains in the mouth. Just like a rule, when you fall foul of a rule that sucks, some taste of that turd still lingers for many, many months. And this is a pleasant place to be. It's a lovely place. Talking about pleasant places, he thinks it's the beach. And let's just talk to him. This, ladies and gentlemen, of the global feed, I bring you the one, the only, Dane the Rock. Angel. You smiling?
Yeah, it's going pretty well so far.
That's an understatement of the year.
Yeah, well, we sort of, like we said in the beginning, we were going to do our own race, and we're doing that. Everyone else seems to be falling out around us, so perfect.
You got your fingers and your toes crossed and all of that stuff?
Yeah, of course, there's still 20 minutes to go. 20 minutes is still a long time, so you never know.
Yeah, it's that insurance policy advert that says what can go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not counting our chickens yet, so yeah, we'll see.
So you, the chickens before they hatch or the rabbits before they're born. Yeah. But you reasonably confident. Good. And you've had a good solid race, learning about the tyres, that sort of thing?
Yeah, exactly. I know you're probably going to have a go at me for saying this, but I didn't have many laps yesterday. So when I went out there, it was sort of trying to find the margins. It was tough we had an idea of what lap time I needed to do, so now I needed to go out there and work out how hard you must push here, how much you must coast there to get to that. So yeah, so I've definitely got more understanding for the second heat.
As The Rock, you're a legend in Cape Town, and we don't like having a go at you. We like pulling your leg. You contribute greatly to our entertainment. For that, we have to thank the legend that is The Rock. Keep it up, Wade.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Awesome. He is a legend. I promise you. While we're here, there's all these interesting characters here. International race car constructor, Matthew Nash. Chemical distributor of chemicals that makes stuff happen. Xena Racing Cars. Not only are they famous for their professional careers, but they're famous for driving. Except for one of you. Andrew, how's your driving going?
Yeah, it's been good. Consistent over 2 hours. And yeah, we're sitting 5th overall. Cars seems to be running well, touch wood. And Howard's doing a good job keeping the lap times consistent.
Esteban Guerreri, Esteban, my South American friend. Esteban, you've built these cars. You've had one or two issues, but it's all part of development and learning, that sort of thing.
It's certainly been a harder road than we thought. The cars seem to be going pretty well now. We've had a very strong year. The race today is going to be difficult. That second 3 hour, I think there's going to be very few finishes. So you see everyone's pretty much cruising already. Let's see how we go. I really hope we manage to get to the end of the second one.
But isn't Ray just talking about that cruising? Motorsport is managing resources, one of which is time, tyres, fuel, fragility of the car over a surface. And it's the clever people who manage those resources who prevail.
Look, I think I hate to say it, but I think there's a bit of luck in it too. Like we managed to catch the safety car perfectly 3 times, whereas the dreaded Pig, our worst competitor, they actually managed to catch. They got it wrong every single time, and not on purpose. The safety car just pulled out in front of them, sort of by luck. So there is a bit of luck involved.
Yeah, Gerald was, how shall we say, not happy. He was expleting.
Yeah. It's a long day for them because we got about 20 minutes to go and they're trying to fix the car. They were running so well. They do put in a hell of a lot of effort, and it's another tiny budget team that comes here and takes on the Giants. So I do feel sorry for them.
You've got to admire that. You talk about tiny budgets. It's a proper family operation where they family and friends, and they come down on a shoestring, and they do a good job. And the thing that I don't know what you feel about the level of improvement over the last 18 months of these guys has been fantastic.
Look, I think they've always done a good job, and it's a car racing team that comes down with one new set of tyres and one good set of tyres to try and survive the 6-hour on. Enthusiastic bunch of mechanics. They come down here with a bakkie and a trailer. This is sort of what car racing in South Africa has always been. It's always been a bakkie and a trailer, not a works team. And they've come here, they've taken on the Giants, they've got some big results, as have we. To me, that's the heart of motorsport, is those sort of people. And you can see the passion. I mean, when he throws the steering wheel, it gets some distance.
Yeah, well, not only that, but did you see the arc that he got? There was skill involved in that.
Yeah, if it was an Australian one, it might have come back and hit him in the teeth. It would have been magnificent.
Esteban, as always, thank you very much we call him Esteban because check the overall. It truly is Esteban Guerreri's overall.
And they fit me to perfection. That's why you can see my coloured socks.
Yeah, and that's why we can see. We would call him the complete package, but that would be stretching it.
She's cut me deep.
Cheers. He's back here, Xena Chemicals, Andrew.
Hello, Colin. Did you miss me?
We certainly did. You basically running it steady till the end.
Yeah, that is the strategy. Let's just bring it home now. This place is killing tyres today, sadly. We're just trying to get it over the line now.
But it is rewarding, having good performance and performing under its duress.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And we got another 3 hour in a little while later, so that's exciting.
Have you built a program from when the car comes back? We've got about another 14 odd minutes left. You built a program for what you're going to do between the races just to check that everything is good with the car?
Yeah, I think it'll be a spanner check, a brake pad check, probably change the tyres, refuel it, and away we go. Clean out the radiators with all the rubber that gets shot up. And I've got a Formula Ford race in between to really keep me busy.
And you jump straight out of the Formula Ford. Are you going to start the second race again?
We're just having that debate now, actually. No, we haven't decided yet. Possibly.
Possibly, maybe, could be, should be, want to be, if, ands, maybes or buts. That's what racing's about.
I just want to get to the beer fastest.
Well, on that note, Andrew, thank you very much.
Thanks, Colin.
A man after my own heart. And we're going to go back to Greg in his silver spaceship, the rocket ship that brings you an overview of the racing on the track. Gregory, captain of the spaceship Silver, over to
Captain's log coming back to us here. So a little bit of a change up on the lead, though. Michael Jensen is just at the front. I'm just looking to see if there's any information coming out of Stuart's team. A few laps ago, they were saying that Stu is just nursing the car at the moment, wants to bring it home. Maybe they just are taking it easy, don't want to go and risk anything and keep it all together for a potential lap record in race number 2. He's now dropped down to second place. He's only a couple of seconds off Michael Jensen. I'm not quite sure if he's actually come into pit lane. I didn't see him come into pit lane. Maybe Colin can check and see and just confirm that. But I don't think he made a pit lane stop. I think it might have just been caught out there with that safety car. He might have just been in the wrong position for the safety car and also lost out because of the safety car situation, on a similar vein to what Dean Wilson and Gerald Wright have done to the lead that Howard Blake and Andrew Horn have got in Class V. So it looks like Jensen's just been able to squeeze past. I'm just waiting to get confirmation of what the gap is there. You can see, unfortunately, just saying plus 1 lap, but I don't think it is 1 lap. I think it's only a couple of seconds. He crosses the line now, 54 seconds, in fact, behind. So Stewie is definitely taking it a lot easier. 146 is out of him, 146 is out of Jensen. So they are lapping exactly the same lap time. So there shouldn't be any change up unless Stewie puts the hammer down for the next 10 minutes or so. It's 11 minutes and 52 seconds that we've got left of this one. So exactly that amount of time still to play. Clay Nonson Satori still sitting 3 and 4 with Blake in 5th place. And of course, that's the man that we just spoken to, his teammate there, Andrew Horn. His teammate doing a superb job for a top 5 in the leading Nash. It's a leading Class V car. If we look at the classes as it stands as well, and maybe just get that graphic up onto screen so people can see that too. Leading car is, of course, also first overall in Class S. Second place in Class S is the man in 3rd place overall, Fritz Kleinons, and Romano Satori in 4th is the 3rd car in Class S as it stands. That's Class Sugar. Class T is being led out this way, so the Tango class is 2nd overall. That's Stuart White at the wheel of his Janetta. Then Class Victor, of course, that is Howard Blake down in 5th place. Class Bravo is the Jared Evans and Dane Angel Honda. They sit in 6th place overall. GT5's Trevor Graham at the wheel of the Backdraft Cobra, piloted by himself and Brian Martin today. Dean Wilson has dropped down to 8th place overall, just into the clutches of Gavin Rook, in fact. And if they stay in pit lane for the next couple of minutes, there's a possibility that Rook will move up into 8th, dropping Dean Wilson and Gerald Wright down to 9th. And looks like Trevor Bland still in the top 10 there. Moving up into 2nd place overall in Class B. And now within 8 laps of the leading car in Class B, that's Jared Evans and Dane Angel. So that's how it sits at the moment, with now 10 minutes and 18 seconds to go in this first 3 hour. Lap times down to 41s now for Stewie, 45s for Jensen. To make up 50 seconds, he's going to need more than 10 or 12 laps. So looks like he's going to have to settle for 2nd place here. Jensen catching that safety car and using it to perfection to ensure that he makes it. There's a problem on the Janetta. Look on the top right of that shot there. The Janetta's just slowed up and stopped. The Janetta has just stopped. If you can just pan right and zoom in on that shot, you can see the Janetta stop top right just underneath the Mopar. He's got going again. Let's go back to the boot section now and the Coca-Cola shot, if we can. There you go. There you can see the Janetta just rolling. It looks like there's a little bit of a problem there. I wonder if there's an issue on that car. I'm going to ask our producer just to get Colin on standby, maybe to shoot down to the Janetta pit. But there's definitely an issue there on that car. Stuart White stopped after turn 2. And he's got going again, but he definitely came to a complete stop before he could go again. So Colin's down at the pit lane. Let's find out there. There's Janetta coming out of the Coke bottle. Let's go back to Colin and find out what went wrong.
Right, guys, there's a bit of an issue here with Craig Jarvis. He's stopped starting. You guys have got the news on the radio. What's going on, Craig?
We've been managing heat the whole time, water temperature, been running sort of 110 to 115 the whole race, which has been a real battle. We've been having to really back off and short shift and lift and coast. But now we're getting oil warnings. So
and those oil warnings, temperature, pressure, what sort of thing?
So I think the temperature's 140 and the pressure's dropping down to 1.5 in the corners.
And you don't want it at 1.5. What's the minimum oil pressure you want?
I don't know that, but apparently it's okay in the corners because you're not on the gas. But it goes into limp mode, and then he has to switch off and switch on to reset it. So it's a real battle at the moment.
You've got about 8 or 9 minutes left to go. You probably, what's that, going to do 5 laps? At this stage, there's a lot of concerned looks by the guys, and there's not a lot of happiness around. Is it going to make it?
Yeah, I mean, we have no idea. It's not looking good, but we're holding thumbs.
Get you smiling.
What else can you do?
Let's throw some toys, but that doesn't help, does it?
It's nobody's fault, so, no point in throwing toys. We're here to have fun, and you just got to remember that.
And up until now, you will have fun when in hindsight, if the car finishes in a good position, you'd look back and say, that was we managed all the resources.
I think that's true, and actually to have come this far is already quite an achievement because we've been managing it since the 3rd lap. So we've come a long way, and hopefully we can get to the end.
This car's designed specifically for the heat of England, which is slightly different to the heat of South Africa. And even though you've added in the recommended heat package, it's still, there's a lot of heat generated by that motor.
Yeah, clearly cars designed and built in the UK or Europe are not really up to the heat task here in Phakisa, but we'll have to look at it and do some upgrades for next time, I guess.
Always upgrading, always looking.
Exactly, yeah. I have
Awesome.
to go to work and make some more money to do that.
I thought you would be in the Maui motorhome already.
Yeah, I'm going now.
Craig Jarvis, thank you for talking to us at a not easy time.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Always nice to know. There's too much officialing going on here. And I'm not sure what's with all this officialing going on here. What are you guys worried about?
We've got a car off circuit at the moment, and we're just trying to work out whether we need a safety car to remove it. It is in a dangerous place. So
Which car, what number, and what spot?
that's what we're waiting for on the radio, and that's why we huddled around listening.
Eric, normally you have this information so quickly. Can we hang around and listen to your radio?
Of course you may, yeah.
And so the news hasn't come yet?
No, not yet.
Maybe we can give you some news. Because we have visuals on the car that stopped on the road. And we'll
It's
tell
over your
him
right
now.
shoulder. If you look over Eric's right shoulder,
It's
it's
a-
on the back straight. It's on
Eric.
the turn in out of Unshini 2 onto the back straight. He's against the
There's your car.
barrier wall.
Always lovely to help the officials official. Let's get some news on our Alpha. We will go shortly. The pit lane will close as it normally does 5 minutes before the end of the endurance race. They used Prattley putty. They used Quickset, of course. They used various sprays. Let's straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Theo, you got it back in? Is it fixed?
There it is, yeah.
Oh, it's not fixed yet.
No, it's fixed. It's ready. Here's the old one.
So this is the bit that actually broke, just one tooth.
Yeah, so what happened is this is the selector sensor. So this sensor tells the ECU which gear you're in. So this failed. So it was telling the car we're in fourth, but we're in fifth, but we're actually in fourth. So when you're selecting back, it's shunting it into the wrong gear. So 3 or 4 times of that broke the gearbox. So.
And replaced and ready to get assembled.
Oh, and we're going to drive manual.
And there's something about a gear lever that's quite lacquer. Eh?
Yeah, it's still Tiptronic. It's just you're not using the paddle shifts out. So there's no electronic thing. You're actually telling it shift.
So you will use your electronic brain that sits between your ears.
That one that says when the red lights are there.
But that doubles your workload in the car. How will you cope?
My word, not that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I must say we're thrilled that we're in the second race. The last time this happened, this did happen before through the gear through the outside housing. And when that happens, it's game over. So today at least it was minimal damage. So.
Right. We want to just have a look at the end of the flag. Thank you very much, Theo, because the long shot over there means pit lane is closed. 5 minutes before the race has the red flag. It could be a red light. It means that the pit lane is closed. Nobody can exit it. So if anybody comes into the pit now, they would not be able to take the checkered flag, which would mean that they would not be classified as a finisher. Stewie is not moving, I believe. He's still stationary, but all he has to do is cross the flag. Let's find out if that's what they're planning to do.
Colin, if you can. Cole, can you hear me?
Have you got him stopped
Colin?
so that you can get him to cross the line under the flag?
I think it stopped by itself.
An involuntary sudden...
I don't think you can restart it at the moment. We're hoping.
Cole, just ask Craig if they wait for it to cool down, will it get a chance to restart?
Greg asks if there's a chance that if you stop and let it cool down, will it start again?
Well, so far we've discovered not.
Well, that's an obvious answer. And
Yeah, but you might not have had enough time yet for that car to cool down.
They are
They're
communicating.
trying to talk him through how to get it started, but I think it's protecting itself.
So this is the part where the electronic, all the safety features become a safety hindrance.
Well, yeah, if we override it, we'll break the engine. So it's got to do what it's got to do. I mean, we've actually run most of the race in limp mode. I don't know if you noticed, but on the back straight, we were hitting a much lower rev limiter all the way down the back straight.
It did look a little bit slower down, but I thought that might have been you guys just running it slow to look after tyres and fuel.
Yeah, it was both. You know, we were trying to short shift, but it was catching it before we even did that. So
motor racing's hard, isn't it?
it is, yeah.
Colin?
It was a real challenge. I mean, it was frustrating because I would like to come here and push as hard as possible, but I spent the entire race just managing the temperature.
Well, he now has to, in order to be classified as a finisher, he's got to cross the line. We've got about a minute-ish left, and the recovery vehicle there, hopefully can do whatever it needs to be done. But for the last minute of the track action, Craig Jarvis, thank you very much. Back to Greg to talk us through the cars crossing the line.
Well, we spoke about drama in the past. There's always drama when it comes to the South African Endurance Championship, and needless to say, that's the biggest drama we've had all day. Stuart White with a comfortable lead, unfortunately dropped down one position and started to feel the effects of the temperature here today. Temperatures at this stage sitting at 29 degrees Celsius. Ambient temperature, we're looking at probably about 35 degrees Celsius. Track temperatures in the cockpit of that Janetta probably going to be close to the 40 degrees Celsius mark because it's very hot, particularly when it's been standing around there. But there you can see that Janetta being picked up by our towing company and going to be brought back into pit lane, which means that he will not be crossing the line to finish the race. He may still be classified as the winner of Class T because he's the only Class T car out there. But Michael Jensen has now got a comfortable margin of nearly 2 laps over Fritz Kleinans and another 3 laps. So I think what he's doing, the camera guy, the tow guy, I think has asked to get that car onto the tow. But I think what Stewie's doing is he's being clever here. He knows there's only a couple of seconds to go, and in fact there's 5 seconds to go before we're going to see a checkered flag, according to my understanding. The 3 hours is up for the round 5 of the Mopar South African Endurance Championship, but the checkered flag is about to come out. It will be given to Michael Jensen as the race winner. Second place will be Kleinans, third place will be Satori, but if Stuart White can get that car started and cross the line, he will definitely be classified. So I think what he's doing is waiting for the car to cool down, and if it does cool down enough, then he's going to be able to restart the car and limp it home in limp mode. Incredible. And that's why you have a driver like Stuart White at the wheel of these kind of cars, having the experience that he's got, even though he's only just been given his own driver's license to drive legally on the roads around South Africa and around the world. So there we see the Maui Motorhomes Janetta G57 parked on the sideline. It's on the back straight. It's just out of Unchini 1. There goes Jensen. He's just passed him in the background, and down the back straight he goes now. So Michael Jensen will be coming around to look to take the checkered flag after 3 hours of racing. What a turnaround here. And it's kind of been a long 3 hours of train racing, literally back-to-back. No one doing anything major out there. A couple of breakages. We've had the 2 Alphas out, the BMW out as well, and, of course, Trevor Frost, Strocam Mining, Ligier. But other than that, everybody else is stuck out there. So now we stand and wait. Checkered flag man is on the sideline. He's about to hand that checkered flag to Michael Jensen, who takes another victory in the South African Endurance Championship. And it looks like Gerald Wright also having some problems down that back straight. So there you can see Nick Adcock happy with that. They've planned it to perfection, and it's turned out to be a bit of a bonus there in terms of their plan. They weren't looking for the race win. They were looking for the championship. With the race win, we'll get confirmation into the closing stages, of course, whether or not that is the championship. But Colin can maybe give us that confirmation. Let's get down there to Nick and find out if that is actually the confirmation.
Well, I don't like to say we deserve that, but we deserve that.
I said to Benoit a little bit earlier, who would have thought? And immediately he said me.
Thank you, guys. No, we drove a great race. We kept in the hunt all the time. He had a problem at the end. We picked up the win through great reliability. You know, they say these races are won in the workshop. Well, that was won in the workshop. The car's not missed a beat the whole race.
But clever engineering and clever driving as well.
Yeah, good strategy from Benoit and Craig. So, yeah, perfect day so far. Got another one to do later now.
So do I call you Mr. Champion now that you are the 2019 Endurance Drivers Champion? Got to shake your hand.
I believe that is the case, so it's a great feeling. Thank you.
Mr. Champion. And another race to do.
Yeah. Just beautiful, sun shining. Here we are in South Africa. Where else would you want to be today?
Ruan,
Fantastic.
just show us the complete ensemble. You got your beach chair at the back there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Go celebrate with your team, Nick. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Colin.
Awesome stuff. And another happy team is this bunch here. This bunch over here. Just show us that board again, Brian. Look at this, chaps. And look at his smile. For an old man. A grumpy... I was going to say something else. GT5 position number 1. That is quite special, Brian Martin.
Very special, very special. The second, I think it means we win the championship.
I'm told, but unofficially at the moment, you guys are the GT5 champions.
Yeah, it's very special.
Awesome. We'll talk to the guys when they come back.
Thanks, Carl.
Right, for now, here's our winner. The question we've got, the officials have gone. They haven't got a Janetta past here. That means they didn't finish, which means that he doesn't get classified as a finisher. This is a winning team. That is a winning team. And we've got another winning team up there. The Honda. Let's see if we can get Michael. Okay, dokes, let's quickly. Last interview before we go. Very, very quickly.
How were the tires in the end?
Not good.
Not good, but still okay. Great job. Thank you.
He's sweaty. He's happy. Michael Jensen, what a surprise.
We were hoping. Unfortunately, I feel sorry for Craig and Stewie. They were so close, and I don't know what problems they had, but it's racing. Our car lasted, as we discussed 3 hours ago, and that's what matters.
And you were just saying to Benoit now, your tires not good.
No, we have it's a long story, but we have the wrong tires.
We'll get that story from you sometime later. Thanks for talking to us, Michael.
Drive, but nice and hot out there.
Go and join Nick on the beach. Right, guys. We're going to come back to you in a couple of minutes. There's some technical stuff while our rigging team do their rigging, and we'll get down to where we need to be. So we're going to go back to Greg now. Cheers.
Yeah, awesome stuff there. Congratulations to Nick Adcock and Michael Jensen. Looks like that win will secure them the 2019 championship in the Mopar South African Endurance Championship overall. They'll also probably be taking Class S there. In terms of the race, though, it's Michael Jensen ahead of Fritz Kleinans and Romano Sartori. Top 3 all out of Class S. And you can see a split of 2 laps between those top 3. Howard Blake eventually finished up in the top 4 with his teammate Andrew Horn. They will take Class V honours. And with Dean Wilson and Gerald Wright falling down to 9th place, very good possibility that they've got one hand on that championship trophy in terms of Class V. I can't tell you right now because we've got to wait for the mathematicians to sort out all the strategies and, of course, the calculations that they need to do to ensure that we've got bits and pieces up there. And it looks like the timing has changed there, unfortunately, so we can come off the timing graphic. I was hoping they were going to stay on there. Apologies for that. We're going to get our timing quickly. Just go back to the original race results there, just to run through those race results before we go back into setting up. Of course, for straight after this, we got another sprint race. So there we go. Top 3 in Class S. We can bring that graphic back up again. 4th place is Class V's winner. Class B's winner, the Bravo category, being taken by Jared Evans. And of course, the thing we've got to watch out for in the calculations that still need to be done is Class 4 and 5. Or position 4 and 5, and as to who is going to have taken the index of performance, because that championship is still very much up for grabs and will probably only be wrapped up after race number 6 in this round, or round number 6 of this championship, which is the next race at 2:30 this afternoon. Gavin Rook eventually ended up in 7th place there. Cara Hill and Trevor Bland in 8th, 2nd in Class B. Nice to see the recovery from Kish Patamba and Chris Budnick, considering they had problems, first of all, with the Ferrari and then with the Mini. They eventually finished up in the top 10, and you can see Dean Wilson and Gerald Wright finishing down in 9th place, which gives them the 3rd overall for the championship and for this race in this round. Jeanette is back in the pit lane. Thanks very much. And going into the pit lane there, looks like that overheating problem was a major factor there for that car. They're going to have to try and work on something in between these 2 heats. They've got 2 hours to do it, and we're going to be heading back down into pit lane now with Colin to go through the podium ceremony for round 5 of this championship. Remember, round 6 starts at 2:30 this afternoon. So we'll wait until we see some action down at that podium. I know our boys are working just to move the link there so we can hit the podium ceremony. But Stewie coming back in a little bit distraught, I think, and a bit probably unhappy with the fact that he couldn't get the car started. He tried everything and climbs out the car. High fives to Craig. He knows that he did everything right and did everything he could. You see his dad Dave there on the right-hand side. I'm going to give a high five from Dave as well. But right in the 4 minutes to go, the car literally gave up the ghost and pulled to the sideline with overheating issues. So that Janetta now and the team there got some work to do to try and get that car sorted for race 2 later on today. Right, so we are into the final bits of the day's racing of this part. And, of course, a big welcome to everybody that did join us here on our international feed via RaceDay TV here on ILEB, as well as on the South African Endurance Championship Facebook page. We hope you enjoyed all the action. The action on track is now stopped for the next 2 hours. We'll be back at 2:30 for more action from the round 6 race. And, of course, that's the second 3-hour endurance here at Phakisa Freeway. We'll give you a couple of pictures until we get down to the podium ceremony. From my side, we'll see you at Hoppers 2 for more action here at Phakisa.